Chapter 347. The American troops didn't expect Huaxia to be so well prepared. From the weapons of the city guards to the emergency supplies and the well-organized martial artists in the bunker, the division of labor was very clear. The Huaxia martial artist counterattack was very fierce. They quickly surrounded the American troops with their superior numbers. The whole process seemed to have been rehearsed. Other than killing some city guards at the beginning, the American martial artists didn't achieve anything else. They were stuck in a quagmire of Huaxia martial artists. Just as the American martial artists were attacking the city, Baguio had already ordered the Russian martial artists to form the second echelon and attack from another direction. Russia's warriors were in short supply right now. Holov and the 3 Russian warriors were all dead, and there weren't many decent warriors below the Star Realm. This charging force was also made up of 1,000 martial artists and 3,000 elite city guards. The charging point was less than 2,000 meters away from the American battlefield. Seeing that the American martial artists couldn't hold on for much longer, the city guards in the northwest started to focus their firepower on the Russian martial artists. Some martial artists were even sent to the Russian battlefield to help. Baguio looked at the situation on the city wall from afar and sneered. "Your Majesty, if we're lucky enough today, we might actually have a chance to break through the city. Everything is under the command of the head judge." Yan Huang relinquished the authority. "Okay, European Union martial artists, get ready. Immediately support the American martial artists and continue to attack from the first gap. Their firepower has been attracted by the Russian martial artists. Attack from there." Under Baguio's command, half of the European Union's aircrafts were dispatched. They quickly rushed to the city wall where the American martial artists were fighting. The commander of the European Union was thinking about how to go up the city wall to support the American martial artists when he suddenly received an order for Baguio. "Don't think about attacking the city first. Throw your most powerful bombs on the city wall." The commander of the European Union was stunned. "Head judge, our allies are still there. Don't worry about them. They can't come back. Let the Huaxia people die with them." The commander of the European Union nodded. "Listen to the head judge." He glanced at the electronic screen and locked onto an area. There are hundreds of warriors fighting fiercely in this area with a radius of tens of meters. Among them, there were less than 100 warriors from the United States, and their numbers were decreasing rapidly. This was already the last resistance of the United States Army. Many Huaxia martial artists were besieging the American siege troops. He even saw several female martial artists fighting among them, and they were exceptionally brave. The prettiest one must be Lin Zhun's girlfriend, Ning. The European commander asked the person next to him, and the adjutant nodded. "Yes. Okay, this is the place. Inform all the aircraft to bombard this place with missiles. I want to severely damage the morale of the people of China. As long as we win this battle, China will have no power to resist." The adjutant immediately gave the order. Immediately, all the metal storms, laser weapons, and small fuel air bombs carried by the aircraft were aimed at the city wall. There were no Star Realm warriors among them. If they were hit by such a concentrated attack, they would probably all be blown to smithereens. And Ning, who was fighting with all her might, suddenly felt a throbbing in her heart. Without thinking, she grabbed Zhao Xiaoman and Chris. "Let's retreat." The 3 girls quickly retreated. Then they saw a dazzling light in the distance. Under the cover of the laser weapons and metal storms, the fuel air bombs were thrown at the city wall. Small mushroom clouds rose into the sky, and a large part of the city wall collapsed under the bombardment of the fuel air explosives. Less than 20 martial artists were able to retreat at the critical moment. The remaining Huaxia and American martial artists were all killed in this disaster. Among them, Ma Yao, Wei Li, Ming Dong, and Gao Yan from the Ice City area were all killed in this wave of attacks. As martial artists, they were killed by modern weapons. This was a kind of irony. However, this wave of attacks did have a certain impact on the Huaxia City Defense Army and martial artists. The people of the Church of God were too cruel. They actually dragged their own people to die with the Huaxia people. This time, hundreds of American martial artists were sacrificed, but almost 400 Huaxia martial artists were killed. After that, Baho commanded the aircrafts of the three countries to attack the gap in the city wall. The Huaxia martial artists didn't expect a gap to appear in the city wall so quickly. A fierce attack and defense battle began around this gap. The gap was lost for a while, but the Huaxia martial artist reserves played a role. With the participation of many star realm martial artists, the control of the gap was taken back. From morning to afternoon, and from afternoon to night, the fight for the gap was seesawing again and again. More than half of the martial artists from the three countries who came with Yin Huang to attack Huaxia were killed in a day of fighting. Of course, Huaxia didn't gain any advantages. However, when it was getting dark, the Church of God suddenly sent out 20 ascetics. Under the cover of the night, the 20 ascetics quietly approached from one side of the city wall. When they were about 100 meters away, the 20 ascetics teleported at the same time. Whoosh! The 20 of them appeared on the city wall at the same time. The leading ascetic looked at the dense crowd on the city wall and sneered. Light of judgment. The ascetics raised their arms at the same time. Rich light elements quickly gathered in the air. A strong beam of light whizzed past the city wall, shooting for thousands of meters. Everyone and objects within the range of this strong beam of light were vaporized by this powerful attack. The ascetic's combined attack was a super attack technique that could instantly kill a quasi-SSS rank. How could these ordinary martial artists and city guards withstand it? Thousands of people were wiped out by this attack. Only a few people at the edge of the city were able to avoid this disaster. Some telekinesis masters rose into the air and narrowly avoided it. Alice and Ning pulled Zhao Xiaoman into the air, but Alice disappeared under the attack of the light beam. This Western woman who had followed in Ning for many years disappeared under the attack of the ascetics. It wasn't just Alice. Hansen and many other martial artists also died in this attack. The city wall, which had been densely packed with people just now, was instantly empty. It almost became a ghost town, and Ning's tears fell. She desperately wanted to take revenge for Alice, but Zhao Xiaoman held her back tightly. And Ning, sister, don't be rash. Those ascetics are not people we can deal with. On the Huaxia side, Jin Shichao, Shang Jin, and other experts on the Dark Star list flew out. There was also a large group of Star Realm experts. They hadn't expected that the Divine Sect would launch a surprise attack just as the day's battle was about to end. This time, the Huaxia people were hurt. However, the ascetics didn't want to continue fighting. After the combined attack, they immediately teleported away from the city wall. Some of the Star Realm experts from Huaxia chased after them, but seeing that the ascetics were preparing to support them, the Huaxia martial artists had no choice but to teleport back. The first day of battle ended. The balance that had lasted for a day was broken. The ascetics appeared at the last moment and caused huge losses to Huaxia. The ascetics were all Star Realm experts. Their participation in the battle represented the appearance of high-end forces. At this time, the ordinary martial artists and city guards of Huaxia were useless. Everyone knew that if they didn't kill the ascetics, they wouldn't win the battle. Jin Shichao and Shang Jin gathered all the Star Realm experts in Huaxia. There are 260 of them in total. These people represented the strongest forces below the Heavenly Star list in Huaxia. The next battle will be fought by them. Jin Shichao and the others knew that the next battle would have to be fought outside the city. It was no longer suitable to continue fighting on the city wall. In terms of numbers, the Huaxia martial artists still had the advantage. However, the ascetics were too strong. This battle would definitely be difficult to fight. Seeing the ascetics attack together today, many martial artists felt weak in their hearts. Unlike the Huaxia side, the people from the Holy See were jubilant. "Ha! Great, Head Inquisitor Baho, you ascetics are truly powerful. This kind of light fusion battle tactic is simply boundless. This way, Huaxia Star Realm experts will definitely give up the advantage of the city wall and fight us outside the city. When the time comes, we'll wipe them all out." Baho nodded slightly. "Your Majesty, I don't dare to boast about other things, but we ascetics have lived for hundreds of years. When it comes to fighting, we're definitely the best. Huaxia has more Star Realm experts. If they dare to fight outside the city, we'll definitely win, and we won't lose more than half of them." Yin Huang deliberately provoked Baho. Chief Judge, don't boast too early. Huaxia has more than 200 Star Realm experts. There are too few experts. It's just a motley crew. Baho smiled confidently, but then he said, of course, this is under the premise that there are no accidents. If a Heavenly Star list expert appears, then the battle might be different. Yin Huang waved his hand. No, the Heavenly Star list checks and balances each other. The European Union also has a Heavenly Star list. I believe that the Huaxia Heavenly Star list doesn't have the courage to fight a world war. Baho said again, the Heavenly Star list won't make a move. Will there be others who will come out to mess things up? For example, Lin Jun. I don't think this person will fall so easily. The Dantian Qi seal might not be able to stop him. Yin Huang's expression also became serious. No one was more afraid of Lin Jun than he was. He was really worried that Lin Jun would suddenly appear out of nowhere and ruin his conquest plan. However, Lin Jun was nowhere to be found. There was nothing he could do. The space in front of them fluctuated, and Shu Mingxuan's water mirror space appeared. Sir Oracle, Yin Huang and Baho both bowed to Shu Mingxian. Chapter 348. Yin Huang knew that if he hated Lin Jun the most in the world, then Shu Mingxian would at least be ranked second. After all, Horov was killed by Lin Jun, which was a slap to Shu Mingxuan's face. But he didn't know that Horov was actually Shu Mingxuan's doppelganger, which meant that Shu Mingxian was killed by Lin Jun once. Shu Mingxian thought that he could dominate the earth and deliberately made a doppelganger, but it was killed by Lin Jun. Shu Mingxian hated Lin Jun to the core. In Shu Mingxuan's view, he was the one who hated Lin Jun the most. Therefore, Shu Mingxian had not been idle during the Eastern expedition of the Divine Sect. He used the search radar on Red Rose to search for Lin Jun. It was not easy to find Lin Jun. The radar needed energy blocks to start. At present, there were not many energy blocks on Red Rose. If these reserves were used up, it would be a problem to contact XINO and others. But in order to find Lin Jun, Shu Mingxian did not care about anything else. Shu Mingxian first decrypted the satellites on Earth and used the satellite images to find Lin Jun's whereabouts. He locked onto a white aircraft, which was driven by Lin Jun when he left. He used the satellite images to track the aircraft and finally found that the aircraft went to Langfang City in the capital Bay City of Huaxia. But there was no news about Lin Jun on the internet. So Shu Mingxian was sure that Lin Jun used an alias. With the technological advantage of the extraterrestrial civilization, he found the transaction records of Lin Jun's account and finally determined that Lin Jun used the name Chun Fan. Looking for Chun Fan, Shu Mingxian finally found the hotel where Lin Jun stayed, the fitness center where Lin Jun trained, and the virtual room where Lin Jun went. After getting this information, Shu Mingxian immediately contacted Yin Huang. He originally hoped that Yin Huang could send someone to catch Lin Jun, but after the call was connected, Yin Huang shook his head. Master Shu Mingxian, I'm afraid this matter is not easy for the time being. Although I also want to deal with Lin Jun. As you can see, the battle here is about to enter a critical moment. I believe that we will be able to kill all the martial artists of Huaxia tomorrow. At this time, it is better not to complicate matters. If we divert our forces to deal with Lin Jun, I'm afraid it will affect the battle. From Yin Huang's point of view, as long as Huaxia's resistance was destroyed, Lin Jun would be a piece of cake for him in the future. Shu Mingxian shook his head. Yin Huang, we all know how dangerous Lin Jun is. If he suddenly comes at a critical moment in the battle, there might be more variables. According to my understanding, Lin Jun is currently cultivating in Lang Fang's virtual reality room. It's very likely that he has found a way to recover his Dantian Qi. Hearing Shu Mingxuan's words, Yin Huang hesitated. But the battle here? He looked around. It was not easy to deal with Lin Jun. He did not have full confidence in himself, and if he went, Bajio could not go. If he diverted Bajio, there would be a problem with the ascetics command. After all, only Bajio could create the most powerful fusion skills. Bajio could not be moved, and he did not have full confidence. Yin Huang was in a dilemma. At this time, Bajio suddenly looked at Shu Mingxian and said, Master Oracle, why don't you do it yourself? Lin Jun will not be able to escape. Hearing Bajio's words, Shu Mingxian fell into deep thought. For safety reasons, he had stayed in the city of ancient god for thousands of years and had never left. With the mutant beasts on the fourth floor, no one could get close to his captain's room. However, leaving the city of ancient god would not be so safe. However, Lin Jun had to be eliminated. He would not be at ease if he did not kill this person. After thinking about it, Shu Mingxian finally made up his mind when he thought about how Xian O and Tuya would arrive soon and how he would no longer be in charge. Okay, then I'll go. No matter what, I have to get rid of Lin Jun. It will solve your worries. Yin Huang and Bajio agreed in unison, and Shu Mingxian closed the water mirror space. After packing up, Shu Mingxian looked at his captain's room. He had stayed on the Red Rose for thousands of years, and it was finally time to go out. Although Lin Jun was not easy to deal with, Shu Mingxian was still confident in dealing with him. After all, he had reached the comet level. The comet level was basically equivalent to the masters on the heavenly star list in this world. Dealing with Lin Jun should not be a problem. Opening his storage box, Shu Mingxian took out the platinum sacred weapon that he had not used for a long time and a set of upper sacred weapon armor. I haven't fought for thousands of years. It's time to move around. When he walked out of the captain's room, Shu Mingxian suddenly felt reluctant to leave. Could it be that I'm old? Why do I feel reluctant to leave? Won't I come back after dealing with Lin Jun? Following the secret passage out of the city of ancient gods, Shu Mingxian took out his aircraft from his storage ring. His aircraft is different from the aircraft on Earth. It's a building-shaped aircraft. This aircraft is in the shape of a small house. This style is also the style of the Sky River Empire. Originally, aircraft were designed in a streamlined shape to reduce air resistance, but the Empire's aircraft are more used for flying in the universe. They also have an energy shield to reduce air resistance, so the aircraft was designed in the shape of a building. At least, it's more comfortable and has a more homely feel. Many people in the Empire have aircraft as their home. When it lands, it's a house, and when it takes off, it's a spaceship. This small house is Shu Mingxian's small home, but its performance is far superior to any aircraft on Earth. Although the energy it carries is not enough to support interstellar flight, it's not a problem to fly a few laps on Earth. Opening the door of the small house, Shu Mingxian walked in, sat on the sofa in the living room, and started the aircraft. Let's go. Let me meet this native genius of Earth. I hope he won't act too cowardly. The small house rose into the air, and a layer of energy shield appeared on the chimney, wrapping the aircraft and breaking through space, heading straight for the capital of Huaxia. Puff! Lin Jun swung the spear in his hand, penetrating half a foot into the wood. Finally, it's the all-conquering martial intent. Lin Jun held the spear in his hand and was secretly excited. After learning this skill, the lethality of his marksmanship has definitely more than doubled. Now that I've mastered the all-conquering martial intent, it's no problem for me to use it in actual combat, but I always feel that it's still not enough. Lin Jun remembered what Zhanya told him. Piercing a wooden plank under the condition of twisting and soaking in water is considered a beginner's level. Piercing a wooden plank under normal circumstances is considered a small success. Under normal circumstances, piercing a steel plate is considered a large success. After Lin Jun left the virtual space, he took out his mobile phone and looked at the internet. He had been in a virtual space for several days now, and he didn't know if the war in the Northwest had started yet. If it wasn't a big problem, he wanted to continue training. With a glance, Lin Jun discovered that the war in the Northwest had not started yet. Right now, they were only reporting the situation of the various martial artists participating in the war, and there were indeed many experts participating. Since the war had not started yet, Lin Jun was not in a hurry to go over. Even if the Vatican took action, it would not be over in a day or two. He still had a bit of time. Turning off his mobile phone, Lin Jun decided to train again. Of course, it was extremely difficult to train the all-conquering martial intent to the small success stage in a short period of time. He had to use some unconventional methods. If he couldn't do it in a normal environment, he could use the gravity room. As a training area for martial artists, Not only was there a virtual space, there was also a gravity room for martial artists to use. The gravity room was an enclosed room, and the gravity inside could be adjusted from 2 times the normal gravity to 5 times, 10 times, or even 100 times the normal gravity. This kind of environment could train a martial artist's strong physique, and it was also a new technology that came out this year. The gravity training method was very popular in the galaxy, but it was only recently developed on Earth. Lin Jun stayed outside for a while. His dark astral energy was still sealed, and he couldn't use his Dantian Qi or astral energy inside the gravity room. This was because the Dantian Qi and astral energy would resist the gravity, and it would not achieve the effect of training. When Chun Fan arrived at the gravity room, there was a staff member outside. He was a level 3 warlord. "Mr. Chun, do you want to try the gravity room?" Lin Jun nodded and looked at the workbench. The gravity was controlled by the workbench, and the minimum was 2 times the normal gravity, while the maximum was 100 times the normal gravity. Lin Jun had also played with this thing in his previous life. He estimated his current limit. If he didn't use his astral power and Dantian Qi, just his physical strength alone, he estimated that 50 times the gravity would be his limit. If the gravity was 100 times the normal gravity, he would be crushed to death. "Can you set the time for me? I don't need 5 times the normal gravity. Starting from 10 times the normal gravity, I need to double the normal gravity every half an hour." "How long do you want to set the time?" the staff member asked. "A day. 24 hours is enough." "Okay, let me calculate. Starting from 10 times the normal gravity and increasing it every half an hour, 24 hours will be 48 times the normal gravity. That's a total of 58 times the normal gravity. Then make it 50 times the normal gravity. The maximum is 50 times the normal gravity. Don't increase it beyond 50 times." "Okay, then we will do as you say." There is a red button in the gravity room. When you feel that you can't bear it anymore, you can press the button. I will open the gravity room and let you out. Don't be in danger. As the staff member spoke, he set the time for the gravity adjustment. There was a total of 24 hours, and the maximum gravity was 50 times the normal gravity, increasing it every half an hour. After the settings were set, Lin Jun paid the fee. The charge for the gravity room was very expensive. It cost more than 30 million yuan for 24 hours. The door of the gravity room opened, and Lin Jun walked in. The door closed, and the gravity room was formed. They were surrounded by pitch-black alloy walls. Due to the fact that many Star Realm experts would train in the gravity room, the alloy walls were strong enough to withstand the attacks of Comet Stage experts without breaking easily. Lin Jun took out a pile of wooden boards from his spatial ring. He had prepared these for training. Although the power of the Dark Star was still sealed, his spatial ring had been opened. After doing all this, Lin Jun took out the rope gun and pressed the white button, indicating that he could begin. Chapter 349. Lin Jun tried his best to straighten his back despite the tenfold gravity. If he couldn't even withstand the tenfold gravity, he would need to go through this special training. He picked up the matchlock spear in his hand and activated Unstoppable. It was similar to a movable mountain. Unstoppable was also a tempering of the mind. A movable mountain was to think of oneself as a mountain in order to withstand a powerful attack. Unstoppable was a huge offensive thought. No matter what was in front of him, he could break it. The matchlock spear stabbed out fiercely and hit a wooden board. Pooh! The matchlock spear penetrated 5 centimeters into the wood. Sure enough, it has an effect. Under the tenfold gravity, I have to withstand a huge pressure. Even my movements are a bit out of shape. It's also because of this that only I can use Unstoppable smoothly under pressure. Once the gravity is removed, I might be able to make a breakthrough and reach the small success stage. With this thought in mind, Lin Jun threw everything to the back of his mind and began to attack the wooden board with a matchlock spear. After about 20 minutes, almost half an hour, he was finally able to withstand the tenfold gravity and penetrate 10 centimeters with a matchlock spear. But then, the gravity increased to 11 times, and the depth of his penetration decreased again. Fortunately, I have experience in training gravity. Only gradual adaptation is the way to go. If the gravity increases too much at once, it will crush me. I need to adapt to 11 times the gravity now. The training continued. The first wooden board was pierced into a sieve by Lin Jun, and he began to attack the second one. Whenever his stamina was about to be exhausted, Lin Jun would take out some high-protein food and a high-vitamin drink to quickly replenish his stamina. He knew that he couldn't rest at this time. Only when he was at his most exhausted state would his training be the most effective. Only when he couldn't hold on and was pressed down by the gravity would Lin Jun lie down for a minute or two and then immediately stand up. If he didn't stand up, he wouldn't be able to stand up when the gravity increased. Time gradually passed. Lin Jun increased the gravity from 10 times to 20 times, and then to 30 times. When it reached 50 times, 20 hours had passed. When the 50x gravity pressed down, Lin Jun found it difficult to even pull out his spear. His legs were trembling nonstop, and he felt as if he was carrying a mountain on his shoulders. Even the simple act of lifting his arms became incomparably difficult. I can't give up, especially at a time like this. I have to persevere. His clothes were already soaked through. Lin Jun staggered to the front of the wooden plank. Relying on his strong willpower, he raised his hand and stabbed forward. There were only 2 to 3 hours left. He had to make a breakthrough in this period of time. Xu Mingxuan's aircraft landed outside Langfang City. He walked down from the aircraft and teleported into the city. Then, he went straight to the hotel where Lin Jun was. The lady at the front desk looked at the man with long hair and a strange uniform. She still smiled sweetly. "Sir, do you need a room?" Xu Mingxian walked up to the receptionist expressionlessly and asked, "Which room is Chun Fan in?" The young lady was stunned for a moment. "I'm sorry, the customer's information needs to be kept confidential." "Ah." Xu Mingxian teleported to the bar and knocked the receptionist out with a karate chop. Then, he searched for Chun Fan's information on the computer. 309. The next moment, Xu Mingxian appeared on the 3rd floor and kicked open the door of room 309. The room was empty. There was nothing else except for the items that the hotel should have. Xu Mingxian flew out of the window and arrived at the fitness center 20 seconds later. Zhang Ye was in the middle of a class when another person suddenly appeared in the room. Zhang Ye was about to scold him when Xu Mingxian emitted a terrifying aura. He stared at Zhang Ye and asked, "Where is Chun Fan?" Zhang Ye immediately knew that this person was a martial artist, and a rather terrifying one at that. Chun Fan was Lin Jun. Since he knew Lin Jun's identity, Zhang Ye certainly couldn't reveal it. Facing Xu Mingxuan's powerful spiritual aura, he forced himself to say, "Chun Fan left a long time ago." Xu Mingxian scanned the fitness center with his spiritual power. After confirming that Lin Jun was indeed not there, he immediately disappeared. His figure flickered, moving a few hundred meters forward each time, moving forward like a ghost. After a while, he arrived at the virtual hall. There were no ordinary people in the virtual hall. Everyone was a martial artist. When Xu Mingxian appeared, a martial artist immediately greeted him. "Hello, Senior. Do you want the virtual space or the gravity space? Where is Chun Fan?" Xu Mingxuan's eyes were blue, different from the sea blue of Westerners, but a rich, dark blue. This is the characteristic of the people of the Sky River Empire. The staff member was stunned for a moment. "Senior, our rules are, if you don't speak, you will die." Xu Mingxian couldn't find Lin Jun for a long time and became anxious. The staff member's face changed. "Senior, we belong to the Gale Force. Although your strength is good, but..." The staff member, who reached the war god stage, didn't say a word. His body softly fell to the ground, killed by Xu Mingxuan's spiritual attack. Xu Mingxian killed all the martial artists in the room with several consecutive spiritual attacks. He then went to the computer to search for Chun Fan's information. Soon he found it. Xu Mingxian teleported directly and appeared in front of the virtual hall. "Is there no one?" Xu Mingxian looked around and appeared in front of the gravity room again. It just so happened that the guard was there. Xu Mingxian walked in front of him. "You have 3 seconds to tell me whether Chun Fan is here or not. If you dare to lie, you will die." Xu Mingxian directly used his soul energy to imprison the war general. The other party had no room to resist. The war general was shocked. The strength of the person in front of him was unfathomable. He hurriedly nodded. Yes, Chen Fan is here. Xu Mingxian put him down and pointed to the gravity room in front of him. You said he is here? Yes. Open the gravity room and let him out. The guard hurriedly said, Senior, I can't do this. The time of the gravity room has been set in advance. It can't be opened until the time is up. Then how much time does he have before he comes out? The guard looked at the time. When he went in, the time was set to 24 hours. It has been 22 hours and 40 minutes. He will come out in 80 minutes. Xu Mingxian checked the internet. It was the second day of the war in the Northwest. The Star State Masters in the Northwest had taken the initiative to go out of the city and fight with the ascetic cultivators. It could be said that it was a critical moment. According to the current situation, the martial artists in China would be wiped out in at most 3 hours. Lin Jun had definitely entered the gravity room to cultivate. Although Xu Mingxian didn't know what he was cultivating, he instinctively felt that he couldn't let him succeed. Once Lin Jun succeeded, he would very likely come out and ruin the war in the Northwest. Whether it was because of his hatred for Lin Jun in his heart, or because of the overall situation, Xu Mingxian couldn't allow Lin Jun to succeed. This gravity room can be broken, right? I will break it now. I can't wait for him to finish. The guard shook his head. Impossible. This gravity room can't be opened even for a comet stage cultivator. Don't waste your energy. Don't look down on me. I'm a comet stage cultivator. Xu Mingxian channeled his astral power, and in an instant, a huge comet with a long, bright tail flashed across the sky. The guard was dumbfounded. This was the first time he had seen a comet stage cultivator. Where did this guy come from? Was he on the heaven roll? Xu Mingxian took out a sword and hacked at the door of the gravity room with all his might. With the help of the astral powers, the blade chi formed into a blade chi that slammed into the door of the gravity room. Kaboom! The gravity room shook slightly. Xu Mingxian's blade chi left a small dent on the alloy wall, but didn't break the gravity room. Damn it! You were actually able to block my comet stage attack. Xu Mingxian's face darkened as he looked at the guard. The guard was trembling in fear. The gravity room, Xu Mingxian murmured. Suddenly, he remembered something. How many times did he set the gravity? Senior, he set the gravity to 50 times at most. The guard didn't dare to argue with Xu Mingxian. He told Xu Mingxian everything about Lin Jun. Oh, you said you couldn't sense any Dantian chi from him? Yes, he's only a level 9 warrior. Xu Mingxian rubbed his chin. Could it be that his Dantian chi hasn't recovered yet? Maybe it has something to do with the recovery of his Dantian chi? If that's the case, then we can't let him succeed. This Lin Jun has some tricks up his sleeves. 50 times should be his limit. I don't know what kind of breakthrough he can make under such conditions. We have to stop him no matter what. Xu Mingxian strode to the control panel. He thought for a while and said to the guard, Now, adjust the gravity to 100 times. The guard waved his hand in fear. Senior, 100 times gravity can kill someone. Cut the crap. If he doesn't die, you will. Immediately adjust the gravity to 100 times. Even if he asks for help from inside, don't open it for me. Didn't he want to use gravity to cultivate? Then let him cultivate to his heart's content. The guard was still trembling in fear. Xu Mingxian's eyes turned cold, and he killed the guard with a soul attack. Although it was his first time using the control panel, it wasn't hard to find the 100 times gravity control panel. He soon figured it out. Grabbing a push rod in his hand, Xu Mingxian sneered. Farewell, Lin Jun. This time, you won't even know how you died. Chapter 350. Lin Jun felt that his training this time was likely to fail. 50 times the gravity was indeed strong, but it was impossible to make invincible break through again within a day. Perhaps after a day of training, his physical fitness could be improved a little, and he could be more proficient with Unstoppable. But that was all. Breaking through required luck. Now that it's 50 times the gravity, I feel that there is less than an hour left. I'll just train to whatever extent I can. He scanned his Dantian with his mental power. He He felt that there was less than an hour left before the dark star space and Dantian space merged again. When he came in, he separated the dark star space from his Dantian, and it would take an entire day to operate. In other words, he would be able to recover his star power in 3 minutes before the gravity machine opened. He held the matchlock spear in his hand and stabbed it into the wooden board again. The spear was swift and decisive, and it actually pierced through the wooden board. I can't say that this day's training has no effect. I guess I'm not far from the small success stage of unstoppable. But luck is not so easy to find. Lin Jun raised his hand again, preparing to stab multiple times at once. But at this time, his mind suddenly sank. Rumble. The pressure actually fell from the sky. If Lin Jun was said to be carrying a huge mountain on his back before, then another huge mountain had suddenly been added to it. The huge pressure directly pressed Lin Jun to the ground. His body was flat on the ground, and he couldn't even move a finger. Creak, creak. Lin Jun tried his best to prop up his body, but the huge pressure pressed down on him like a piece of paper. His limbs were pressed tightly to the ground, and not a single strand of hair could move. His bones were constantly groaning, and his muscles were twitching. His internal organs were also under huge pressure, and he felt that he couldn't breathe. Lin Jun was incomparably angry. What were the guards doing here? He only asked for 50 times the gravity. Who told him to release 100 times the gravity? Without a doubt, this was 100 times the gravity. What kind of training could he do under this kind of gravity? Wasn't this a scam? You're neglecting your duties. You'll have to give me a full refund when I get out of here. Otherwise, I'll tear down your *T gravity room. Lin Jun's spiritual power was still there. He used his spiritual power to drive a flying knife. It rose into the air, shakily, and flew with difficulty under gravity. Finally, the handle of the knife hit the red button. According to the previous agreement with the guard, as long as he touched the red button, he would be able to open the gravity chamber. The button was indeed pressed, but the door of the gravity chamber did not open. Lin Jun was suddenly alarmed. What did this mean? Could it be that the guard had been bribed? Or was someone chasing after them? Lin Jun knew that the Vatican had always wanted to get rid of him. Could it be that Yin Huang had come? Lin Jun didn't know the exact situation, but he knew that if this continued, he would definitely be crushed to death by the 100-fold gravity. Lying on the ground, the pressure on him was immense. Lin Jun knew that he had to stand up. He tried to curl his fingers, tried to move his legs, tried to support his body, but he was pushed back down by the gravity again. He could only move his body slowly retreating, trying to shrink to a corner of the gravity chamber. This process lasted for 10 minutes. Lin Jun's sweat flowed like a river on the ground. Finally, he came to the corner, leaned his back against the wall, and sat up a little bit. This is terrible. How can this 100-fold gravity be so powerful? His limbs trembling, Lin Jun tried to stand up. At this time, a sound came from a monitor on the ceiling. This monitor is connected to the outside, and the image isn't very sensitive, but it still shows a person. Blue eyes, yellow skin. A person from the Sky River Empire. Lin Jun's almost collapsed spirit suddenly shook. This is the first time he saw a person from the Sky River Empire after his rebirth. Xu Mingxuan's face appeared on the surveillance screen. The screen was a little sluggish from his previous attack, and the image was blurry. Regardless of whether Lin Jun was looking at him or he was looking at Lin Jun, it was unclear. In the distorted image, Xu Mingxian found Lin Jun and laughed triumphantly. Ha ha ha. Lin Jun, you really know how to hide. You actually hid in this mouse hole, but so what? You still can't hide. Today is the day you die. Who are you? Lin Jun found it difficult to speak. Who am I? Can a frog at the bottom of a well like you understand? You only need to know that I am Holov. The image distorted twice, and Xu Mingxuan's image disappeared again. Lin Jun knew that this time it was a bit dangerous. This Xu Mingxian is the one who controlled Holov, and he should be at the comet stage. Whether he's a genius or not, the strength of a comet stage cultivator can't be underestimated. In less than an hour, the gravity room will be opened. Even if he doesn't die, he will die. The only way is to continue practicing all-conquering. This 100 times gravity, I have to bear it, Even if I can't bear it, I still have to bear it. Lin Jun took a deep breath, took out some food, and swallowed it, then stood up in one go. The bones and muscles in his body creaked. That was a sign that he was almost unable to bear it. Lin Jun held the gun in his hand, leaned against the wall, and took a step forward. One more step. One more step. He moved to the side of the wooden board again, biting his lips, blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. People have potential. Some people even say that the potential of a person is infinite. Of course, the potential isn't infinite, but it has a lot of flexibility. I have no way out now. If I want to live, I have to continue practicing all conquering. If I reach the small success stage, I will have a chance to live. Although this 100 times gravity makes it hard for me to move, it has forced me to fight with my back against the wall. When there is no choice, bravely moving forward is the best choice. Lin Jun's eyes opened wide, and the gun in his hand became straight under the support of all conquering. Suddenly, the gun pierced the wooden board in front of him. A spear shot out. Spirit reaches the rainbow. The long gun pierced through the center of the wooden board. Because Lin Jun was at the side of a row of wooden boards, this spear actually pierced through the entire row of wooden boards. The gun fell to the ground, and Lin Jun's body also fell to the ground. Success, success. Lin Jun fell to the ground, but his heart was filled with excitement and shock. The small success stage martial technique that was originally impossible to succeed. Under Xu Mingxuan's plotting, under the pressure of 100 times gravity, he actually succeeded. After reaching the small success stage, the lethality of Lin Jun's spear technique doubled again. However, he didn't have any strength left, so he could only take out the Dantian Qi recovery medicine that he had prepared beforehand and swallow it. After drinking the Dantian Qi recovery medicine, the boundary-breaking nail in his body began to dissolve. After about 20 minutes, the boundary-breaking nail completely dissolved, turning into fragments and disappearing into Lin Jun's Dantian. Without the suppression of the boundary-breaking nail, Lin Jun's Dantian Qi finally recovered. Traces of Qi began to rotate automatically, and the combat power of a quasi-star realm took shape once again. With the Dantian Qi, Lin Jun could use it to resist 100 times gravity. At this moment, his all-conquering had reached the small success stage, so the 100 times gravity was no longer of any use. With the Dantian Qi covering his entire body, Lin Jun finally felt a little more relaxed. He hurriedly retreated to a corner and ate some food to quickly recover his strength. Seeing that the surveillance screen was about to appear again, Lin Jun's mental power moved, and the throwing knife flew out with difficulty, destroying the screen. Outside, Xu Mingxian didn't know what was going on, but the screen was completely gone. He was a little anxious, not knowing if Lin Jun had been crushed to death by the 100 times gravity. He could only walk back and forth outside, waiting for the time to arrive. Fortunately, the gravity room was about to open, and there were less than 10 minutes left before it opened. Xu Mingxian sat cross-legged in front of the gravity room and adjusted his condition. If Lin Jun was still alive when the time came, he would attack with his strongest state. While he was meditating outside, Lin Jun was also resting, trying to recover as much strength as possible. When there were 3 minutes left before the gravity room opened, Lin Jun's Dark Star space and Dantian space merged again. The Dark Star's astral power enveloped Lin Jun's body, reducing the pressure on him by a lot. It feels good to have my strength back. Above the Dark Star, radiant energy burst forth, and light particles began to wash Lin Jun's body over and over again, taking away the fatigue in his muscles and bones. After repeating this process for more than 2 minutes, Lin Jun finally felt a little better. It's about time. I now have the strength to fight. Let's see the results of so many days of cultivation. My touchstone will be this alien in front of me. Lin Jun stood in front of the gravity room, waiting for the moment when the door opened. Boom! The door swayed a little and opened to the left and right, revealing a small gap. At first glance, Lin Jun saw the aliens waiting outside the door. Xu Mingxian also saw Lin Jun, and his heart was filled with hatred. Why wasn't this damned bastard crushed to death by the 100 times gravity? Moreover, looking at Lin Jun's appearance, it seemed like his dantian had recovered. Xu Mingxian didn't dare to be careless and took 2 steps back, waiting for Lin Jun to come out. The door finally opened completely, and Lin Jun stepped out, the sunlight flowing around his body. Pa! With the blaze spear in his hand, Lin Jun pointed it at Xu Mingxian. The one who controlled Holov to deal with me was you, right? It was me, Xu Mingxian replied coldly. The one who tried to control my soul with the brain bug was also you, right? That's right, it was also me. Now that the Vatican is fighting with China, the one who encouraged Yin Huang to go on an expedition to the east was you, right? You guessed right, it was all me. Xu Mingxian had the pride of a high-leveled civilization, and he looked at Lin Jun like he was looking at an ant. Then you can go and die. Lin Jun raised his hand, and the blaze spear appeared. Xu Mingxian laughed out loud. Lin Jun, you actually dare to be so arrogant toward a high-leveled civilization, citizen? You actually dare to be so arrogant toward a Comet Week's expert? It seems like death is beckoning to you. Lin Jun held the blaze spear in his hand, and he felt extremely relaxed. After leaving the 100 times gravity, it was as if 2 mountains had been removed. He didn't waste any more words with Xu Mingxian, and he pointed the blaze spear, go and die. Boom! His feet stomped on the ground, and he actually stomped out a large hole. Lin Jun charged towards Xu Mingxian like a cannonball. Xu Mingxian didn't expect Lin Jun's attack to be so sudden, and the platinum sword in his hand hurriedly blocked. The star power of the comet stage was activated, but it actually wasn't able to block Lin Jun's attack. The blaze spear shook off the platinum sword, and the huge impact directly pierced through Xu Mingxian's armor. The 2 of them charged into the sky, and with a rapid momentum, they actually pierced through the clouds. Chapter 351. This is impossible. Xu Mingxian simply couldn't believe what had just happened. His comet stage sword had actually failed to block the spear of Lin Jun, a quasi-star stage cultivator. Not only had he failed to block it, but Lin Jun's mid-grade astral tool spear had actually pierced through his high-grade astral tool armor. Not only had the spear pierced through his armor, but it had also injured him. Not only had he been injured, but the powerful impact had actually brought him out of the atmosphere. The spear had pierced through his shoulder, causing blood to splatter everywhere. He had no way of escaping and could only passively allow Lin Jun to charge upwards. The wind whistled around him as Bai Yunfei rapidly descended. This time, the impact had actually reached a height of 100,000 meters. Lin Jun felt the power in his body surge violently. After leaving the pressure of 100 times gravity, his power had already been unleashed. Under this unstoppable attack, even Xu Mingxian, who was at the comet stage, couldn't block his current spear. At this moment, Lin Jun finally understood what it meant to be the strongest. The strongest defense was the strongest attack, and the strongest attack was the strongest. This unstoppable martial technique was too important to him. It fully displayed the might of the spear without restraint. Whoosh! The thunderlight wings appeared behind him, and Lin Jun let out a series of whistles before disappearing into the horizon in the blink of an eye. In outer space, there was no night or day, no spring, summer, autumn, or winter. There was only endless dark energy and shining celestial bodies in the sky. Boom! Xu Mingxian's back slammed heavily into a broken communication satellite. Only then did he come to a stop. Up! Xu Mingxian spat out a mouthful of blood. His hands fiercely pulled out the spear from his shoulder. His deep blue eyes were already red. He pulled out the platinum sword in his hand once again and ruthlessly slashed down at Lin Jun. Lin Jun, I want your life. Lin Jun twisted his body in the air, and his spear pierced out again like a poisonous dragon. Borrowing the strength of his weapon, he arrived first and attacked Xu Mingxian's lower abdomen again. This was Xu Mingxian's first time fighting Lin Jun. Only now did he understand just how difficult Lin Jun was to deal with. He swung his sword, wanting to borrow the sharpness of his top-grade sacred artifact to cut apart Lin Jun's spear. But before he could exert any strength, the spear had already pierced through his body again. The huge wound on his abdomen caused Shu Mingxuan's platinum sword to lose its power again. He screamed in pain and retreated again. After 2 shots, Lin Jun had beaten him to the point where he lost his confidence. The comet's star power wrapped around him as he hurriedly flew into the distance. Ha ha! You want to run? As long as you don't run back to your Sky River Empire today, you will die. With that, Lin Jun flapped his lightning wings and rapidly approached Shu Mingxian. Shu Mingxian was shocked when he heard these words. He shouted while running away. Do you really know about the Sky River Empire? Nonsense. I already said it when I killed your Hollow. I can tell you that your plan is about to be aborted. Earth is not a place where you can do whatever you want. The two teleported in the starry sky. Lin Jun had his lightning wings. After a few teleportations and flying, he caught up with Shu Mingxian again, and the light in his hand was overwhelming. The clanging sounds of weapons colliding were extremely loud. Shu Mingxian, who was at the comet stage, was completely suppressed by Lin Jun. It was not because he was weak, but because Lin Jun's spear was too lethal. Every attack was like a meteor crashing over. His strength was infinite and incomparably tricky. Shu Mingxian was beaten to the point where he had no way to fight back. Lin Jun, stop, let's stop. Why should I stop? Today, you will turn into the dust of the universe for me. As long as you stop, I can recommend you to be the deputy director of the Royal Zoo. Shu Mingxian finally threw out his chips. Lin Jun was almost amused by him. It's ridiculous, giving me the position of a zoo director and a deputy director. Do you think this is some kind of grace? You don't understand. Being the deputy director of a zoo means you're no longer a slave or a pauper, but a citizen with a household registration. Do you know how many people dream of being a civilian in the Sky River Empire? Your low-level civilization enters the Sky River Empire. Basically, all of you are slaves, and the identity of a pauper is very rare. F***CKU slaves. Earthlings will not become slaves. Even if you give me the position of a zoo director, I don't care. Lin Jun knows the social hierarchy of the Sky River Empire. The royal family, nobles, citizens, paupers, slaves, and so on. In his previous life, Lin Jun worked hard for hundreds of years to become a citizen of the Sky River Empire. In this life, people took the initiative to send themselves to his door, but Lin Jun didn't care. There is no doubt that the army of the Sky River Empire was attracted to Earth by the person in front of him. All the tragedies in his previous life, including the destruction of the Earthlings, were all caused by this person. Lin Jun shook his spear, river overturned. The huge wave, under the buff of the all-conquering buff, slammed Shu Mingxian thousands of meters away. With a flash of his thunder wings, Lin Jun appeared above Shu Mingxuan's head, holding his spear high and stabbing down. Shu Mingxian instinctively wanted to teleport, but he was directly interrupted by Lin Jun, and the spear stabbed down heavily. Lin Jun, don't even think about killing me. Shu Mingxian clasped his hands together, and a shield appeared. The star power of the comet stage surged out, resisting Lin Jun's spear. The shield was once again pierced by Lin Jun, and at the critical moment, Shu Mingxian grabbed the tip of Lin Jun's spear. However, he couldn't resist the huge impact brought by Lin Jun. Flapping his thunder wings, Lin Jun carried Shu Mingxian and rushed down to the huge blue planet below. When Lin Jun took Shu Mingxian to the sky, he took off in the direction of Beijing Bay City. However, the Earth was spinning and out of the gravitational range of the Earth. When Lin Jun took Shu Mingxian down again, he was no longer at the beginning. Clouds appeared in front of him, passing through the troposphere, and then through the thick cumulonimbus clouds. Lin Jun found that the Earth below was blue. This is the ocean. Lin Jun realized that the direction was a bit off, but it didn't matter. No matter where they are, they haven't left the Earth yet. Because of the friction between the two of them and the atmosphere, Shu Mingxuan's back was already on fire. The flames wrapped around the two of them and burned. Shu Mingxian wanted to escape, but he couldn't. The holy armor on his body was boiling hot, but he didn't have time to care. Once he let go, Lin Jun's spear would penetrate his body again, and he would be dead for sure. Like a meteor, the two of them fell from the sky. Shu Mingxian shouted, "Lin Jun, two of my companions are coming. If you kill me, they will avenge me. Then let them come." The meteor continued to fall. This was the Yellow Sea, close to the Pacific Ocean. The meteor blasted straight into the ocean. Gudu-gudu. White bubbles and waves rolled. The flames on the two of them were extinguished, and they sank into the depths of the ocean. At first, they could still see the sky, but soon they couldn't. The water here was thousands of meters deep. Lin Jun directly carried Shu Mingxian to the bottom of the ocean. A string of coral reefs were destroyed, and Shu Mingxuan's body fell heavily into the sand. Lin Jun didn't give Shu Mingxian any chance at all. The spear stabbed down, firmly nailing Shu Mingxian to the bottom of the ocean. Shu Mingxian screamed miserably as large mouthfuls of seawater poured in. He tried hard to pull out the spear, but Lin Jun's spear suddenly burst out with golden energy, crushing his organs in his lower abdomen. Blood flowed out of the wound and out of his mouth, dyeing the seawater red and attracting the nearby sea monsters. Lin Jun's spiritual force moved, and the seven-star knife flew out, killing all the nearby sea monsters. Shu Mingxuan's eyes gradually dimmed. He tried hard to raise his hand, as if he wanted to grab something. At this moment, he was incomparably regretful. Why did he have to leave the city of Ancient God? Why was he blinded by hatred? He was so safe in the city of Ancient God for 1,000 years. But just as Xin and Tuya were about to arrive, he was attracted by the glory and wealth. He wanted to make a contribution, but in the end, it led to a bitter end. It was a pity that everything couldn't be restarted. Even if the Holy See really defeated Huaxia, even if the Holy Sect's army really conquered the world, he wouldn't be able to see it. His fingers drooped down weakly, and his eyes slowly closed. He would never be able to return to the starry sky that he yearned for. The captain of the Red Rose, the gravedigger of Earth, was buried in the deep sea of Earth. Lin Jun glanced at Shu Mingxian, and then took his sacred weapon and space ring. He threw out an energy ball and blasted a deep hole in the bottom of the ocean. He placed Shu Mingxuan's body in the deep hole, and then covered the collapsed coral reefs above it. This was the respect for a powerhouse, and also the fulfillment of Lin Jun's small wish in his previous life. After doing all this, Lin Jun teleported and rushed to the surface of the ocean. When he reached the surface of the ocean, he flapped the thunder wings and was already in midair. The first thing Lin Jun did after ascending was to take out his phone to check the situation on the internet. Before he entered the gravity room, the battle in the northwest hadn't started yet. Now that 24 hours had passed, he didn't know what the situation was over there. Lin Jun was shocked when he saw the situation. The internet was full of posts, and all of them were filled with horror and sadness. The warriors of Huaxia were about to be defeated. Yesterday evening, the ascetic monks attacked for the first time and killed a large number of Huaxia warriors. Today, the Star Realm warriors of Huaxia came out and fought with the ascetic monks in the Taklamakan Desert. The ascetic monks' combined combat skills caused the Star Realm warriors of Huaxia to suffer heavy losses. Since the start of the battle 2 hours ago, more than half of the Star Realm warriors of Huaxia had been killed. Yin Huang, Baho, and 2 other ascetics in the Comet stage besieged Huaxia warriors from all sides, and the ascetics didn't suffer heavy losses. If this went on, Huaxia would be wiped out in less than an hour. Many Huaxia people had already fled with their families. Once the warriors were defeated, the Huaxia army wouldn't have any resistance, and Huaxia would face the situation of being conquered. But in this post-apocalyptic world, where could people escape? The internet was filled with despair. What should Huaxia do? Seeing this, Lin Jun's anger surged. He absolutely couldn't allow such a thing to happen. He had to stop it. He had to fight. Xiaonuan. Lin Jun flapped his thunder wings and headed straight for the west. At the same time, he called out to Xiaonuan in his mind. He had called out to Xiaonuan when he came out of the gravity room, and it was about time for him to arrive. In less than 20 seconds, Xiaonuan appeared in the distant horizon. Space seemed to have no distance to him, and he arrived in front of Lin Jun in just 2 to 3 seconds. Lin Jun jumped onto Xiaonuan, who had grown to nearly 10 meters long and 3 meters tall. He pointed his spear to the west and said, "Northwest, let's go." Chapter 352. This was the first time Lin Jun realized that Xiaonuan's speed could be this high. His lightning wings were already 4 times the speed of sound, but it still couldn't compare to Xiaonuan's speed. This speed was definitely over 20 times the speed of sound. However, Lin Jun wasn't surprised. Galactic beasts were known for their speed, but Xiaonuan's speed seemed to be even faster than normal galactic beasts. After all, it was still young. It only took 3 minutes to travel from the Yellow Sea to the capital Bay City. Lin Jun saw the capital Bay City. When he passed by the capital, Lin Jun saw that there was a place in the capital that seemed to be filled with the power of holy light. It was the Grace Cathedral. Could it be you? Lin Jun hadn't seen Su Mingyue for a long time, but in his opinion, Su Mingyue should be inside the Grace Cathedral. With Gongsun Du's protection, Su Mingyue's safety shouldn't be a problem, but other places weren't safe. He really wanted to see Su Mingyue, but time didn't allow it. Looking down from the sky, Lin Jun urged Xiaonuan to continue accelerating, heading northwest. Lin Jun. Su Mingyue opened her eyes in the quiet room, her heart throbbing. It must be Lin Jun. What is he doing? How is the outside world? Why am I so nervous? Su Mingyue slowly stood up. She was no longer in the mood to cultivate. Ever since she announced her betrayal of the church, Gongsun Du had forbidden Su Mingyue from leaving the Grace Cathedral. He had also placed a light seal on her door and window. Su Mingyue had already mastered the light particles, but she still couldn't break the seal her master had placed. As far as she knew, Gongsun Du himself didn't cultivate the power of light. How could he place such a strong seal on her? Could it be that her master had already mastered the power of light particles? When did this happen? Su Mingyue did leave the divine sect, but she had never left the house. Her master also confiscated her phone and did not allow her to contact the outside world. This was for her safety, so Su Mingyue did not complain. She was waiting for Lin Jun to repair the stargazing mirror and couldn't pick her up. However, Lin Jun never came. She really wanted to know what was going on outside, but she couldn't leave her room. Now, she couldn't even call for help. Gongsun Du didn't even want to meet her. If he wanted to leave, he would have to break the seal left behind by Gongsun Du. When Lin Jun went over, Su Mingyue, who had the same light energy as Lin Jun, felt an indescribable palpitation. This wasn't the first time she had this feeling. She wanted to go out and take a look. Glancing at the seal on the window, Su Mingyue sat down. She had to cultivate as soon as possible and break her master's seal. She had to get out. The battle in the Taklamakan Desert attracted the attention of the whole world. Huaxia had 260 Star Realm experts participating in the battle, while the Vatican had 121. China had the advantage in numbers, but among the 260 people, 230 of them were only at the core stage. Among the 120 people from the Holy See, only 50 were in the core stage. The remaining 67 were in the meteor realm. There were also 3 in the comet realm, including Baho. This battle was extremely difficult from the beginning. The Huaxia martial artists didn't dare to be too close together, fearing that they would be hit by the opponent's fusion technique. They could only use the wolf pack tactic and attack from all directions. There was nothing wrong with the tactic. What was wrong was that the overall strength was relatively low. Even if they had more people, it was difficult to fight against the ascetic monks. Star Realm experts kept falling. After 2 hours of battle, only 120 of the 260 Star Realm experts in Huaxia were left. There were still 90 ascetic monks left. This was the huge difference in strength. Ha ha! Yin Huang transformed the light fiend into a death scythe. He teleported forward, and the death scythe brought a large amount of light, cutting down a Star Realm expert from Ice City. The 11th one. The Huaxia martial artists are too weak. They are simply at my mercy. Today is your end. A few Huaxia martial artists surrounded Yin Huang. They seemed to be surrounding him, but they were actually retreating. Yang Jining, the owner of Ice City's Azure Sky Dojo, was also in this group. No, we can't continue fighting like this. How is Yin Huang so strong? I didn't think much of him when I saw him fighting Lin Jun. There were 7 of us fighting him, and now there are only 4 left. You guys cover me. I'll fight this guy. Yang Jining spat out a mouthful of blood. There was a huge wound on her waist. Old Yang, what are you going to do? Cut the crap. Let's attack together. Give it your all. Yang Jining roared angrily. She took advantage of the mental attacks and weapon attacks of the Star Realm martial artist to suddenly teleport behind Yin Huang. Even a grain of rice dares to shine. Yin Huang curled his lips in disdain. Suddenly, he waved the death scythe in his hand. Yang Jining twisted her body and jumped up a little, but she couldn't completely dodge. Her legs were cut off by the scythe. However, a smile appeared on his face. His body continued to charge forward, and his surging astral power surged. Oh no! Yin Huang was shocked. Yang Jining was going to self-destruct. Self-destruction was a martial artist's strongest attack. It was also their last attack. Although the explosion of a star core couldn't be as powerful as a real star explosion, its power was almost comparable to a small nuclear bomb. It just didn't have the shock wave of a nuclear bomb. Yin Huang was shocked. The fiendish light in his hand turned into a metal eggshell and enveloped her. Boom! A wave of air exploded in the crowd. The main force was aimed at Yin Huang, but the people around him were still pushed far away. Looking at the shining stars in the sky, the Huaxia martial artist couldn't help but feel sad. Old Yang, the master of the Azure Sky Dojo in Ice City, had cultivated for many years to reach the Star Realm. However, he died in a battle with the Divine Sect. Moreover, he died by self-destruction, forever disappearing from the world. After cultivating to this level, if it wasn't for the fact that there is no hope, who would be willing to self-destruct? However, many people also heaved a sigh of relief. If Yang Jining's self-destruction could kill or seriously injure Yin Huang, it would be worth it. However, after the starlight flashed, Yin Huang was safe and sound. Ha ha ha! I said you were a grain of rice, but you still released a little bit of light. What can this little impact do to me? Can it break the defense of my top-grade sacred artifact? The fiendish light turned into the death scythe in Yin Huang's hand, making everyone feel despair. This top-grade sacred artifact that could change at will was simply too powerful. It had both offense and defense, and was difficult to resist. Even the self-destruction of a Star Realm expert couldn't break it. Who could hurt Yin Huang? Compared to Yin Huang's side, the battle on Baho's side was much more intense. The ascetic monks were well-trained. They attacked in groups, completely suppressing the Huaxia warriors. Jin Shichao, Shang Jin, and the others led the Star Realm experts of Huaxia and struggled to hold on. Jin Shichao and Shang Jin were even fighting 2 early Comet Star Realm cultivators head-on. The battle was extremely difficult. The chief instructor from the Stellar Fruit Tree, Guo Mo, led a group of instructors from the Stellar Fruit Tree to fight against the 20 ascetics. They had already suffered heavy casualties. Chief instructor, we can't hold on any longer. We can't hold on any longer. Please retreat. Guo Mo's eyes were bloodshot. Where are we going? Do we even have a place to retreat? Every time we retreat, we lose an inch of land. If we keep retreating, Huaxia will fall into the hands of the Vatican. Let's fight out with them. Seeing Yang Jining's self-destruction, Guo Mo was also tempted. If these people retreated, the northwest base city would fall. The defensive position was in the northwest. If the northwest was gone, the door to China would be completely open, and all the base cities behind it would have no hope. Therefore, if they wanted to fight, they had to do it in the northwest. A ascetic monk swung his sword and attacked. Guo Mo didn't dodge and faced it head-on, resolutely self-destructing. This ascetic monk didn't have the defense of a sacred weapon like Yin Huang, so he couldn't dodge Guo Mo's self-destruction. A ball of starlight exploded in the air. Guo Mo and this early Comet Star Realm cultivator died together. As soon as Guo Mo died, the instructors from the Stellar Fruit Tree all rushed over like crazy. Each of them entangled a ascetic monk and self-destructed one after another. Like fireworks exploding in the sky, 12 Stellar Fruit Tree instructors pulled 10 ascetics down with them and turned into cosmic dust. This was the first time the ascetics had suffered the greatest loss since the start of the battle. Only 80 of the original 90 ascetics were left. However, the Stellar Fruit Tree Instructors team was also wiped out. Following Guomo's charge, many Huaxiao warriors followed suit. Seeing this, Baho immediately called out, "Yin Huang, stop them. I'll use my fusion technique." Yin Huang appeared in front, waving his Grim Reaper scythe to stop these Huaxiao warriors. Because his light demon could transform into an eggshell-like defensive sphere at any time, no warrior was willing to self-destruct beside him. If it didn't break through his blockade, they couldn't get close to the ascetics. With this delay, Baho was already floating in the air, holy light surging in his hands. Evil souls should be purified by light. May the true God be with you. Go to the Garden of Heaven. Light's judgment. The 10 ascetics beside him released their light energy at the same time, and a fusion technique appeared. A holy light that connected heaven and earth smashed over fiercely. 6 or 7 Huaxiao warriors who tried to self-destruct were directly vaporized without a sound. However, Yin Huang wasn't hurt at all. He was someone who controlled light atoms, so he was immune to pure light energy. Only one Star Realm expert managed to charge past Yin Huang and teleport to Ba Qiao's side. However, Ba Qiao merely waved his hand, and a blade of light tore through space, slicing the Star Realm expert in half. In terms of pure strength, Baho was the most powerful person present. Yin Huang blocked at the front, and Baho led a group of ascetics to fire at the back. It seemed that the Huaxiao warriors had no way to turn the situation around. Jin Qichao, Shang Jin, Luo Yun, and Dongfang Jun were still bitterly holding on. They couldn't retreat. If they took another step back, their home would be destroyed. For the sake of that hopeless future, the Star Realm warriors of Huaxia had already decided to bury themselves in the sand. The world was silent. No one thought that there was still hope for this battle. Chapter 353. Quick, quick, quick! Xiaonuan, go faster! Lin Jun had already entered the Taklamakan Desert. He could even see elemental energy soaring into the sky in the distance. It was a group of Star Realm experts fighting. The Huaxia martial artists were already in great danger. He had to hurry over and help. Xiaonuan spread out its 4 claws and stepped on the void. It could leap thousands of meters in an instant, sweeping across the endless yellow sand below. The man and the beast quickly approached the battlefield, their fiery red manes fluttering in the wind. Soon, Lin Jun saw the situation on the battlefield. Streaks of white light crisscrossed the battlefield. The ascetic monks had already gained the upper hand. There were only about 50 Huaxiao martial artists left. Their numbers were already lower than the ascetic monks. He even saw Yin Huang waving his light fiend in the white light, crazily chasing after the Huaxia martial artists. There were even flying devices hovering in the distance. Those were people from all over the world, broadcasting this battle that would determine the fate and future of the world. If the Christian church won, then no matter how unpopular they were before, they would definitely be able to reverse the situation and rise again. If their doctrines couldn't influence you, then they would conquer you. This was the Christian church's current strategy. At this moment, 2 extremes were formed on the internet. People from the European countries cheered. After all, they were on the Christian church's side. If the Christian church won, their country's positions in the world would also be greatly improved. People from the African Union, Brazil, and India were silent. If Huaxia lost, where would the Christian church's next step be? Would they also face the fate of being conquered? The Huaxia people felt deep despair. These martial artists had lost. Did Huaxia still have the power to resist? A flying device from Huaxia was broadcasting live. The host of the live broadcast was a beautiful host from Huaxia's Ice City Bay City. Her name was Suna. Suna had once done an amazing live broadcast. It was when Lin Jun was in Jiaodong County. She risked her life and drove the interview car to the bottom of Jiaodong Building. She let the snow cover the interview car while she hid in the interview car and did a live broadcast. That live broadcast made Lin Jun famous, and Suna also made a name for herself in the news interview industry. So this time, she came again. She came to the Taklamakan Desert. Her interview vehicle had been replaced with an aircraft. She was doing a live broadcast in the aircraft. The camera next to her was still faithfully recording the scene, but Su Na's voice was choked with sobs. Fellow countrymen and viewers from all over the country, we have been in the Taklamakan Desert for a few hours now, and we have broadcasted the entire battle. Everyone can see from the images that the Star Realm experts of our country are already fighting a tough battle and dealing great damage to the white-clothed ascetic cultivators. I have a count here. The ascetic cultivators participated in the battle, and there are currently 61 of them left. In other words, we've already killed half of the ascetic cultivators. And of the 260 Huaxia experts, there are only 55 left. Although I'm not a martial artist, I can see that our chances of winning this battle are not high. The country and the people will remember the names of the martial artists who died here, and history will remember them. Perhaps we have failed today, but I believe that our nation will not be defeated forever. We will rise again one day. No one can conquer our nation. Su Na wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes with her hand and continued. Speaking of this, I think of a person. It's a person I filmed in Jiaodong. His name is now very well known. He is Lin Jun. At that time, everyone thought that Lin Jun would lose, but no one expected him to rush down from the top of Jiaodong building and defeat all the people who were chasing him. I will always remember that scene. I will remember the scene of him falling from the sky. From then on, I knew a kind of spirit of never giving up and never giving up. This spirit has always been with me and made me understand how to grow. Maybe I was still young at that time, or maybe I was naive. I thought that Lin Jun could bring good luck to people. I thought that he was like a hero who could always appear in times of danger and save the situation that was about to collapse. In fact, he has done this many times. Su Na sniffled and could not stop her tears. But fairy tales will always wake up. Miracles will not always appear, and good luck will not always be with me. It will not always favor Lin Jun. After today's live broadcast, I will retire from the broadcasting industry and live a normal life because I no longer believe in good luck. Before Su Na could finish her words, the cameraman's voice suddenly interrupted. The cameraman was very professional and never interrupted the host during the live broadcast. However, today's situation was too abnormal. Su Na was a little annoyed. This cameraman had worked with her for many years and always knew the rules. What was wrong with him today? Xiaodong, what are you doing? Su Na, look, your good luck is here. In the camera, Su Na suddenly turned around. A stream of light was approaching at an incredible speed from the horizon. Because it was facing the camera, Su Na could even clearly see the person's face under the high-speed camera's capture. Su Na's petite body suddenly exploded with an unbelievably loud voice. Her scream not only shook the cameraman's eardrums, but also made the people watching the live broadcast dizzy. Lin Jun, that's Lin Jun. I knew he would come. My good luck is still with me. After 2 hours of live broadcast, Su Na's voice did not become hoarse from such an intense battle. However, this time, her voice became hoarse in an instant, and her voice broke when she screamed. However, she did not feel anything. Even the people watching the live broadcast did not feel anything. This was because everyone saw Lin Jun riding a huge mutated beast and rushing over at lightning speed. Whoosh! Lin Jun rode on the mutated beast and flew past the aircraft. As he flew past, he lowered his head and looked at the camera. This glance was also seen by the entire country's audience. The entire Chinese audience was in an uproar at this moment. Lin Jun is back. He's still alive. Oh my God! Didn't they say that Lin Jun's Dantian Qi was destroyed and he could never practice martial arts? What do you mean destroyed? It's sealed. What's more, sealing the Dantian Qi is nothing to Lin Jun. He's our Chinese national hero and the #1 genius on Earth. Lin Jun, I love you. Beat up those damn old men for me. People of the Vatican, get out of China's territory. Today, I'll show you the power of our Chinese hero. Yin Huang, you son of a B***TCH, tremble. Your nemesis is here. Lin Jun came just in time. I used to be your anti-fan, but from today onwards, I'll become your fan. Upstairs, you King dog. You even hate Lin Jun. Are you still human? The speed of the scrolling comments almost caused the server to crash. Some forums were even paralyzed on the spot. However, this did not stop the people's enthusiasm. If one were to listen in the sky above a few bay cities in China, they could even hear waves of cheers soaring into the sky. This was Lin Jun's magic. This was the confidence that Lin Jun brought to the Chinese people. This was their national hero. The Chinese national hero was here. Compared to the Chinese people, the martial artists who were still fighting were even more surprised. They had already made up their minds to die for a righteous cause. When they saw Lin Jun appear, they suddenly exploded with strong confidence and combat power. Lin Jun, kid, you're finally here. Lin Jun is here. Brothers, hold on. It's time for us to counterattack. I knew that China would not be destroyed. Compared to the Heavenly Star leaderboard, Lin Jun is more reliable. The sudden burst of combat power from the Chinese martial artists actually forced the ascetic monk's wave of attacks back, buying precious time for Lin Jun to arrive. Yin Huang looked at Lin Jun, who could now clearly see his face, and felt a chill in his heart. Didn't Master Shu Mingxian go to deal with Lin Jun? Why did he let him come to the desert battlefield? Could it be that Lin Jun killed the gods' emissary? However, now was not the time to think about this. When he saw Lin Jun, the old and new hatred in Yin Huang's heart surged out. When he fought with Lin Jun in the city of ancient gods, he did not gain any advantage at all. When he fought with Lin Jun in Constantinople, Halef and Larix were both killed. He was also seriously injured. He had no choice but to go to Iceland and find the ascetic monk. Now that his strength had increased greatly, the battlefield was also becoming one-sided. Now was the best time to take revenge. He turned around and shouted to Baho, who was behind him, "Chief Judge, hold off the Chinese martial artists for me. I'll deal with Lin Jun first." Baho nodded. "Go and come back quickly. Your strength today is already above his. Don't worry, I'll cut him into pieces." Yin Huang gritted his teeth. He held the light fiend in his hand and went straight to Lin Jun. Baho made up his mind to delay with the other Chinese martial artists. Without Yin Huang at the front, they would have to pay a high price to wipe out the Chinese martial artists. The ascetic monk had already lost half of his men. They could not continue to lose them. In his opinion, Yin Huang could already defeat Lin Jun now. After all, Lin Jun's realm had not increased. Looking at Yin Huang approaching quickly, Lin Jun raised the blaze in his hand. "Xiaowan, go help the others." Getting down from Xiaowan's back, Lin Jun flapped the lightning wings on his back and charged toward Yin Huang. The two fated enemies met once again. "Lin Jun, I'll settle this with you today." Yin Huang waved the Grim Reaper scythe in his hand and slashed down fiercely. Lin Jun exerted force with the blaze in his hand. "Then let's settle this." Under everyone's gaze, the two rays of light met. Boom! Dazzling photons flew everywhere. Streaks of lightning tore through the sky. They met quickly and separated even faster. Lin Jun's body suddenly rushed forward. He merged with his spear and knocked Yin Huang 1,000 meters away. River flip. The spear dragged out a vast river. The huge wave almost covered the sky. It crossed 1,000 meters and smashed down fiercely. Yin Huang's eyes widened in horror. He turned the light fiend into a shield to block it. "No block can stop me. My spear is invincible." Crack! The wave formed by the tip of the spear hit the shield fiercely. It actually blasted a hole in the light fiend, which had reached the quality of a top-grade sacred weapon. Yin Huang spat out blood. His body fell to the ground like a cannonball. Chapter 354. Yin Huang's confidence almost collapsed at this moment. He couldn't believe what was happening. He didn't want to believe it. He refused to believe it. He was the Lord of the Vatican, the Pope. Lin Jun was just a small martial artist from Huaxia. He was already over 30 years old and had been practicing martial arts for 28 years. Lin Jun was younger than him. He was at the peak of level 9 meteor stage, a super expert who was about to enter the comet stage. Lin Jun was just a quasi-star realm cultivator. But he lost. Once again, he lost to Lin Jun in front of the whole world. Moreover, he lost so quickly. He couldn't understand how Lin Jun's spear could be so ruthless and fast. With his strength at the peak of the 9th level meteor realm, he actually wasn't able to block Lin Jun's spear. What was even more ridiculous was that the shield formed by the fiendish light, which was comparable to a top-grade Saint artifact, was actually pierced through by Lin Jun. He thought he knew Lin Jun very well. Lin Jun's spear could be infused with gold energy, which could increase the grade of the weapon. A mid-grade spear could almost reach the level of a high-grade spear, but it still wasn't enough to pierce through the shield formed by the fiendish light. He felt that when Lin Jun attacked with his spear, there was an extremely powerful aura. That aura was the key. It made him instinctively feel that he couldn't block Lin Jun's attack. He didn't understand what it was, but he knew that if this continued, he would very likely be killed by Lin Jun. Seeing Lin Jun whizzing over with his spear shining with a deadly light, Yin Huang finally couldn't help but shout, "Head judge, save me!" Baho could see clearly from above that Yin Huang had lost in a cowardly manner this time. In Baho's opinion, Lin Jun wasn't a quasi-star realm cultivator. He had actually reached the star realm because he had the support of astral power when he attacked. The quasi-star realm should be his disguise. However, even a star realm cultivator wouldn't be able to defeat Yin Huang so easily. Lin Jun had done a lot of research on attacking. His attacks were very skillful, as if he had a secret technique to support his attacks. Yin Huang didn't expect the enemy to come first. He lost his confidence after being hit by Lin Jun. If this continued, he would die without a doubt. Although Ba Qiao was disappointed in Yin Huang, it was impossible for him not to save Yin Huang. "Your Majesty, put on the starry sky crown and fight bravely." As Baho spoke, he had already transformed into a meteor and descended from the sky, chasing after Lin Jun. As for the battle with the Huaxiao martial artists, with the support of the other 2 Comet Stage ascetics, they wouldn't lose. However, it was almost impossible to annihilate the Huaxiao martial artists. With Baho's reminder, Yin Huang put on the starry sky crown in a panic. He hadn't worn this treasure during the battle with the Huaxiao martial artists. Now, he hurriedly put it on. The starry sky crown carried a strong astral power, which was injected into Yin Huang's body. This gave him a little more confidence in fighting against Lin Jun. Baho chased after Lin Jun, getting closer and closer to Lin Jun. When he was a few hundred meters away, Baho suddenly teleported and appeared behind Lin Jun. His weapon was a long sword. He brandished the long sword and stabbed at Lin Jun. He wanted to save Yin Huang. However, just as he teleported behind Lin Jun teleported as well. Lin Jun had been waiting for this opportunity. As Baho had just teleported, he couldn't interrupt him. This was his chance. Baho's sword missed. Lin Jun had already reached Yin Huang's side. The long spear in his hand struck down fiercely. "I'll send you off again." This time, Yin Huang used all his strength. With the support of the starry sky crown, the baleful light once again turned into a shield. It wasn't penetrated by Lin Jun, but it accelerated his fall. Poof! A cloud of yellow sand rose into the air. Yin Huang crashed heavily into the yellow sand. Lin Jun didn't give him any chance to breathe. He stopped in the air and raised his hand. The energy above the dark star surged. Lightning, ice, and fire turned into an energy ball covering the blazing light spear. Lightning kill. Ready. The target was Yin Huang, who had created a sand pit below. When Baho saw this scene, he was horrified. If lightning kill fell from this height, it was very likely that Yin Huang would die. The Pope couldn't die. This was Baho's bottom line. The sword in his hand emitted a light blade, slashing diagonally at Lin Jun. He had to stop Lin Jun from launching this attack. At this moment, Lin Jun teleported again. The moment Baho attacked, he teleported. His grasp of time had reached the pinnacle. His understanding of combat far surpassed others. Baho attacked, but couldn't interrupt Lin Jun. Lin Jun took advantage of this opportunity to teleport above Baho. It was like 3 points forming a line during shooting. Yin Huang below was the target, Baho in the middle was the crosshair, and Lin Jun was the gap. The 3 points formed a straight line, and the lightning kill that had been brewing for a long time was the bullet that was about to be fired. Lin Jun waved his hand violently in the air. Lightning, which contained a huge energy beam, fell from the sky. Boom! His target wasn't Yin Huang, but Baho. This was his plan. If Baho dared to dodge, Yin Huang would die. If he didn't, he would have to bear the brunt of the lightning kill. In Lin Jun's eyes, Baho was more difficult to deal with than Yin Huang. If they fought face to face, it would be difficult for him to hit Baho. Only by attacking Yin Huang with such a huge killing move would a stubborn head judge like Baho definitely block it. This was his chance. If Baho teleported behind him, Lin Jun wouldn't be able to release his lightning kill. He might even be killed by Baho. However, Lin Jun was willing to bet that Baho wouldn't dare to exchange Yin Huang's life for his. As expected, there was a hint of struggle in Baho's eyes. If he was facing Lin Jun alone, he could easily dodge the lightning kill. He could even counterattack. However, he couldn't dodge. If he dodged, Yin Huang would be finished. Lin Jun, you're despicable. Baho roared. He hurriedly brandished the long sword in his hand, creating a light blade to block Lin Jun's lightning kill. Even if his strength had reached the middle stage of the Comet Realm, how could he block Lin Jun's strongest killing move with such a hasty move? The two energies met. Baho's light blade only blocked Lin Jun's lightning kill for a second before it was hit by the energy. Ba Xiao screamed as his body tumbled and fell to the ground. He fell into the sand pit that Yin Huang had created. This scene was recorded by the aircraft in the distance. When Su Na saw Lin Jun appear, she immediately ordered the pilot to capture Lin Jun's battle. There was no need to capture anything else. Thus, the scene of Lin Jun first defeating Yin Huang, then blasting Baho to the ground with one move, was broadcasted to the world. The world was in an uproar. Now, everyone knew that the two pillars of the divine sect were Yin Huang and Baho. If Lin Jun could take care of both of them, then Huaxiao would win. Lin Jun is so cool. 1 against 2. Did you see that? This is called strength. This is the strength of a Huaxiao martial artist. Why isn't Yin Huang showing off? The sand tastes good, right? My brother Yin of the divine sect is a coward with a lot of words. Upstairs, I'm impressed. Lin Jun's attack succeeded. His heart was set. The light flickered, and a storm of spear lights fell. He was on a fight 1 against 2, just like what the internet said. If he didn't fight 2 against 1, then the rest of the Huaxia martial artists would be in trouble. Moreover, both of them were injured. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He might have a chance to win. I'll take your life while you're down. I don't feel any pressure at all when I hit you while you're down. Looking at the storm of spear lights falling from the sky, Baho and Yin Huang felt a strong sense of humiliation. Lin Jun really didn't take them seriously. He actually used such a group attack to attack the two of them. This was simply a humiliation to them. Baho spat out a mouthful of blood. Blocking the thunder kill just now had injured him, and it wasn't a light injury. Yin Huang also had blood at the corner of his mouth. Lin Jun's consecutive attacks were too sudden and overbearing. Although he had Baho by his side now, he still wasn't confident. In the blink of an eye, Lin Jun's attack was already in front of him. Before the spear lights fell, the huge pressure had already caused countless small pits to appear on the sand. That was the force of the spear lights. Your Majesty, fight it out with him. Use the light of judgment to support me. Baho roared in anger. 2 holy sons of the divine sect had joined forces, yet both of them were injured. This made him feel extremely embarrassed. The power of light around Yin Huang flickered and poured into Baho's body. He wanted to use the light of judgment to kill Lin Jun. Lin Jun raised his hand. Wind rise. The wind elements in the dark star whistled and instantly formed a huge tornado that connected the sky and the earth. An incredible power appeared in this desert. The yellow sand in the sky was rolled up and instantly covered the sky. With the cover of the wind, Lin Jun increased the speed of his lightning wings to the maximum and quickly rushed forward. The light of judgment missed. What welcomed the two was Lin Jun's brilliant spear light. When Baho's attack missed, he paused for a second. At this time, Lin Jun rushed in front of Yin Huang. He wanted to defeat Yin Huang in one fell swoop. Yin Huang looked at Lin Zhen's fierce spear and howled. He felt like he was going crazy. He didn't want to be suppressed by Lin Zhen like this. He wanted to fight it out with Lin Zhen. The Grim Reaper scythe in his hand swept out. Pooh! Lin Zhen's spear pierced Yin Huang's lower abdomen. Swoosh! The Grim Reaper scythe cut open Lin Zhen's shoulder. Lin Zhen flipped his body and used the force of the scythe to pierce Yin Huang's shoulder again. Rip! The scythe cut open a piece of flesh on Lin Zhen's thigh. Lin Zhen didn't even blink. He swung his spear horizontally and slapped Yin Huang's face. Yin Huang's helmet was knocked off. His teeth fell out and his mouth was full of blood. Another slash across Lin Zhen's chest. Lin Zhen twisted his body again and pierced Yin Huang's thigh with his spear. Yin Huang screamed and wanted to attack again, but Lin Zhen's spear trembled. He pulled it out and stabbed at Yin Huang's chest again. He didn't care about Yin Huang's scythe attack at all, as if he wanted to die together with him. Yin Huang was scared. He didn't dare to exchange injuries with Lin Zhen. In this short second, he felt like he couldn't hold on anymore. Before Baho could come over to support him, Yin Huang's mind was on the verge of collapse. Chapter 355. Seeing Yin Huang turn around and run, Baho was furious. I risked my life to help you block Lin Zhen's lightning strike, and you're doing this to me. If Yin Huang wasn't the Pope and the two of them had a common interest, Baho would have given up. But he couldn't. Your Majesty, if you leave, our East expedition will end here. Yin Huang was also a little scared by Lin Zhen's ferocious attacks. When he heard Ba Qiao's words, he was enlightened and stopped running. Light Adam began to heal, and Yin Huang waved his scythe and charged back. This time, Lin Zhen wouldn't win so easily. Baho was a Comet level 5, and Yin Huang was a Meteor level 9. Both of them were quite strong, but fortunately, after Lin Zhen mastered Unstoppable, he could fight with a real expert. The three of them fought from the sky to the ground, and then from the ground to the sky. The fierce battle shocked everyone. The more Baho and Yin Huang fought, the more depressed they became. Lin Zhen's strength and speed were too shocking. The two of them could fight to the death without retreating. Your Majesty, teleport back to the main group. Baho sent out a mental attack, and Yin Huang immediately took the opportunity to teleport. Lin Zhen was prepared for Baho's mental attack, so it couldn't hurt him, but it couldn't stop Yin Huang from teleporting. Yin Huang teleported a few hundred meters away and attacked Lin Zhen again. Baho also took the opportunity to teleport away. The two of them repeated this a few times before returning to the group of ascetics. Lin Zhen flapped his lightning wings and chased after them, heading straight for the ascetics' camp. Those ascetics had been waiting for a long time. Under the leadership of a Comet Stage ascetic, Bright Judgment was already prepared. Lin Zhen, don't be rash. Be careful of their fusion skill. Jin Qichao shouted from behind, worried that Lin Zhen would be hurt. Lin Zhen wasn't afraid at all. He turned around and shouted to the Chinese warriors, prepare to counterattack. After saying that, Lin Zhen suddenly raised his hand, and the Dark Star's gravity force was released. Lin Zhen was already prepared for the ascetic's fusion skill. As long as he broke their formation, their fusion skill would not be able to display its power. Gravity was the best way to break their formation. Within his Dantian, the Dark Star that had reached the level of the ancient underworld began to revolve. Through the fusion space, a gravitational force of the planet enveloped him. This was the true gravitational force of the planet. No matter how strong those ascetics were, they would not be able to resist such a powerful gravitational force. More than 10 ascetic cultivators immediately fell to the ground, their bodies spinning as they flew towards Lin Zhen. Lin Zhen's figure flashed through the air. His speed was pushed to the limit. Every time an ascetic cultivator uncontrollably rushed over, Lin Zhen would sweep out his spear and kill them on the spot. After killing 5 or 6 Star-Core ascetics in a row, the light of judgment had been broken. Seeing Lin Zhen kill his way into the ascetics' camp like a tiger entering a flock of sheep, Huaxiao's Star Realm experts moved again. Jin Qichao waved the long sword in his hand and shouted to the Huaxia martial artists behind him, fellow martial artists of Huaxia, my fellow countrymen, Lin Jun has defeated the enemy. Now is the time for us to fight alongside Lin Jun and eliminate the invaders for Huaxia. Good. Let's go. The time has finally come. Brothers, let's go together. More than 50 Star Realm experts rushed out, turning into streaks of light as they killed their way into the ascetics' camp. Baho had not expected that the fusion skill they were so proud of would be broken by Lin Jun, just like that. His eyes turned red as he watched the ascetic cultivators die one by one. Lin Jun, don't be so arrogant. The long sword in his hand released a strong light that was 3 feet long, making the sword 2 meters long. He waved the huge sword and charged towards Lin Jun again. Good. I've been wanting to have a good fight with you for a long time. The light in Lin Jun's hand revolved, and he activated Unstoppable as he faced Baho head-on. The long spear swept up huge waves, and every strike was as heavy as a mountain. Baho was fighting Lin Jun with the strength of the comet stage, but he was still at a disadvantage. Your Majesty, come and continue to work together. Baho called out to Yin Huang again, but Yin Huang was really a little scared now. He was originally an extremely proud person, but after losing to Lin Jun several times, he felt that he could not defeat Lin Jun. However, Baho was being suppressed by Lin Jun, and it was being broadcasted live to the whole world. He could not back down from such a battle, no matter what. He waved the fiendish light and joined the battle again, and the 3 of them fought in the air. It was not just the 3 of them who were fighting, but all the martial artists of Huaxia and the ascetic cultivators were fighting. The battle of more than 100 people in the air was simply earth-shattering. The overflowing energy poured into the yellow sand, and dust flew up like a sandstorm. Light, electricity, wind, fire, and all kinds of energy elements wreaked havoc, making it difficult to see the people fighting inside. Occasionally, there would be a scream, and someone's corpse would spin and fall from the sky. Unlike the ascetic cultivators who were suppressing the Huaxiao martial artists, this time, they were truly evenly matched. The internet was boiling with excitement, and Lin Jun's participation gave people endless confidence. Suna was so excited that she could not control herself. She went to the control panel of the aircraft, connected to the internet, and found song. This song was the national song of Huaxia during the Gong Yuan era. Because people were focused on fighting mutated beasts after the God Transformation era, there was not much entertainment, at least in terms of music. The songs from 1,000 years ago were almost forgotten, but this song had always been there, and it was also sung by people all over the country. Turn the volume to the maximum, and set the loudspeaker outside. Let's boost the morale of our Huaxiao warriors. The huge loudspeaker was turned on, and the music on the aircraft rang out. Rise up, people who are unwilling to be slaves. When the music sounded, the people who were fighting crazily paused for a moment. But then, someone laughed. Good. Well done. Although we martial artists pursue the supreme martial arts and should not interfere with the affairs of the mortal world, this time, let us be presumptuous and bury these children of the divine sect in the dust. As Suna's aircraft played the national song, many aircraft from Huaxia shared Suna's music and played the national song at the same time as her aircraft, boosting the morale of the Huaxia martial artists. It had to be said that this boost in morale was immeasurable. The Huaxia martial artists became more and more courageous as they fought, while the morale of the ascetic cultivators continued to decline. They could no longer use their fusion skills. Every time a fusion skill was about to be used, Lin Jun would release a gravitational force in the crowd, causing the formation to be messed up. This allowed the Huaxia martial artists to quickly rush in and kill. After losing a few people, they no longer dared to use their fusion skills. The 2 main forces, Yin Huang and Baho, were also being held back by Lin Jun. They could not take him down for a while, and the battle was getting more and more passive. Your Majesty, use light refraction. Baho roared. Yin Huang nodded, and the 2 of them shook at the same time. Countless rays of light bloomed, and their figures disappeared in the air at the same time. Hee, you have a good grasp of the light atom, using light refraction to become invisible, but you've made a mistake. Lin Jun watched the 2 of them disappear. He waved one of his hands, and a cold air spread out. A low temperature of negative 100 degrees appeared in the air. Anyone who got close to this range was either frozen stiff or slowed down. Baho and Yin Huang's invisibility suddenly lost its effect. The two of them hurriedly revealed themselves, and at the same time, released strong light to resist Lin Zhun's cold air. Lin Zhun raised his hand, and the seven-star sword rose into the air. It enveloped Baho and Yin Huang with 7 types of energy elements. With the long spear in his hand, he charged forward again and pushed his indestructible martial arts technique to the limit. He was going to turn his advantage into victory. Because they had used their tactics well at the beginning, Baho and Yin Huang were both injured. Lin Zhun had always liked to take advantage of his opponent's weakness. He would never give these two people any chance to catch their breaths. The Chinese nation has reached its most dangerous moment, bravely marched toward victory. Along with the inspiring song, the Huaxia martial artists finally gained the absolute advantage and launched an all-out counterattack. Jin Shichao and Shang Jin forcefully held back the other 2 early-stage comet stars. Although these 2 ascetics were early-stage comet stars, Jin Shichao and Shang Jin were ranked 2nd and 3rd on the Dark Star leaderboard. They had experienced hundreds of battles and could challenge those of a higher level. Luo Yun and Dongfang Jun led some elites to form an assault arrow and attack the ascetics from 2 directions. They had already completely disrupted the opponent's formation. As long as they put in a little more effort, the battle would come to an end. The people at the scene and online were so excited that their eyes were brimming with tears. The Vatican's expedition to the east was going to fail, and Huaxia was finally going to win. At this moment, Shaonuan suddenly jumped out, opened its mouth wide, and began to devour. It was no longer a newborn galactic beast, but an infant galactic beast. Its devouring power increased accordingly, and it devoured everyone below the meteor stage. There were about 40 ascetics left in the Vatican, and 7 or 8 of them were in the core stage. At this moment, they were besieged, and they were completely unprepared for Shaonuan's attack. They were instantly devoured. After losing these 7 or 8 people, there were only about 30 ascetics left. Their numbers were once again behind the Huaxia martial artists. After Shaonuan swallowed 7 or 8 people, it charged forward and entangled a few more meteor stage ascetics, preventing them from escaping. This was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. The ascetics could not hold on any longer. While Baho was still fighting, Yin Huang thought of retreating again. "Chief Judge, we can't hold on any longer. The Huaxia martial artists are going to win. They will come to support Lin Jin soon. Let's retreat." "Retreat? Where else can we retreat to? If you want to leave, then leave. I have nowhere to go." Baho was too aggrieved in this battle. He had taken Lin Zhun's thunder kill for Yin Huang, and his combat power had been reduced by at least 50%. In the end, the situation was out of control. It was impossible to retreat now. Baho looked at the Huaxia martial artists who were full of momentum and finally sighed. Suddenly, he pounced on Lin Zhun. Chapter 356. Lin Zhun sneered when he saw Bajio pouncing over. How could he let Bajio's plan succeed when the battle had reached this stage? If he self-destructed during the comet stage, the power would be comparable to a nuclear explosion. Lin Zhun would never give him the chance to do so. He raised his hand and released the gravitational force again. Bajio's body accelerated under Lin Zhun's gravitational force and rushed to Lin Zhun's side. This broke the rhythm of his self-destruction. In other words, he reached Lin Zhun's side before the time of his self-destruction was up. Lin Zhun raised his hand and lashed out with his spear, striking Ba Qiao's abdomen. Boom! Bajio's body fell to the ground, and his self-destruction was interrupted. Lin Zhun flew down like a meteor and quickly caught up with the seriously injured Bajio. Bajio's current state was probably the weakest he had ever been. Not only had he been hit by Thunderkill, but he had also suffered a heavy blow. What was more serious was his heart. He had been living well in Iceland, but Yin Huang had encouraged him to lead the ascetics out of the mountains and conquer China. If he had succeeded, there would have been nothing left to say. However, he had failed, and he had been defeated by a young man like Lin Zhun. He was completely disheartened at the moment. Otherwise, he wouldn't have thought of self-destruction. Looking at the hopeless look in Bajio's eyes, Lin Jun could have killed him with one shot. However, Lin Jun didn't do so. Bajio wasn't a bad person. In his previous life, he had led the ascetics to destroy a mid-sized fleet of extraterrestrial civilization. Lin Jun had seen that battle. Bajio had been the leader. His battle of light was indeed very powerful. However, in this life, Lin Jun had been reborn and his butterfly wings had changed too many things. Bajio and the ascetics had left Iceland in advance and suffered heavy losses during their conquest of China. No matter how strong Lin Jun was, he couldn't eliminate the other experts on Earth. When the extraterrestrial civilization arrived in the future, these people would be the main force against them. Therefore, he had long since made up his mind to use Soul Lock to subdue Baho, a super expert in the comet stage. However, this was definitely not going to be easy. If it weren't for Yin Huang, this noob teammate, holding him back, Lin Jun might not have been able to defeat Bajio alone. Moreover, Baho was a mid-diamond level telekinesis master. His willpower was extremely strong. It would not be easy for Lin Jun to lock his soul. Only at this moment, when Baho was completely disheartened and heavily injured, did Lin Jun have a sliver of hope. Therefore, while Yin Huang was still running away, Lin Jun didn't have the time to care about him. As long as he took Baho, Lin Jun was confident that he could find Yin Huang and deal with him. His spiritual power locked onto Baho, and the two of them fell into the yellow sand on the ground. Fortunately, no one followed him. Everyone could see that Lin Jun was going to win. Now, everyone's attention was focused on dealing with the rest of the ascetics. Baho, do you know what you've done? Lin Jun asked. Baho glanced at Lin Jun blankly. He didn't even think about resisting. He just muttered, "The winner takes all. What is a crime?" Lin Jun said disdainfully, "Chief Judge Baho, don't you feel guilty? You ascetics came out of Iceland and raged in the northwest-based city of Huaxia for an entire day. Not only did you destroy a lot of infrastructure in the northwest, but you also killed countless warriors and city guards. Can you afford to pay for this?" Baho's face was a little red. This was indeed unjustifiable. Lin Jun continued, "Baho, to think that you're the former Holy Son of Light of the Vatican. I'm afraid you've completely forgotten what the Vatican's doctrine is. Could it be that your doctrine is conquest and plunder? Look at what you're doing now. What's the difference between you and bandits? You've lived for hundreds of years, but you've become a thug and a lackey. Whoever wants to believe in the doctrine will believe in it. If they don't, they won't believe in it. You want people to lower their heads and have to believe in it? I think you've been living like a dog all this time." Baho didn't agree with the East Expedition at first, but he couldn't stand Yin Huang's repeated persuasion. Plus, there was Shu Mingxuan's promise. These things moved him, so he left Iceland and got involved in this mess. Now that he was being scolded by Lin Jun, he couldn't take it anymore. He wasn't very thick-skinned. "Lin Jun, what's the point of saying all this now? You've won this battle. The winner has the right to give orders. If you want to kill me, then kill me. Don't talk nonsense. Killing you is easy, but the crimes you've committed are hard to make up for. Baho, are you still thinking about the arrival of the true God army in the future? Are you still thinking about how you'll be able to gain a foothold in it and go to the stars in the future? You know all this?" Baho was stunned. "I know a lot of things. If you want to know, I can tell you." Lin Jun's soul lock enveloped Baho silently. However, when it entered Baho's mind, it was immediately met with strong resistance. Baho's mind power was about the same as his. They were both mid-diamond level. It was too difficult to lock his soul lock. However, Lin Jun had his ways of persuading him. He started to tell Baho about the extraterrestrial civilization. Lin Jun lived in the stars in his previous life. He knew a lot about the outside world. Everything he said made Baho yearn for it. The true gods in the stars, are just powerful people. They're just powerful people from another civilization. As long as you cultivate with me, I'll bring you into the vast stars in the future. I have many tricks up my sleeve. I can survive in the stars and live a good life. Those people you believe in are bandits on Earth. If you follow them, You'll be doomed eternally. As for the so-called God's messenger, I've already killed him. As long as we have more power than them, we're also gods. Every time Baho's mental strength showed signs of resistance, Lin Jun would use words to tempt him. She would even violently throw a punch at him, leaving Baho with bruises all over his body. She would never give him the slightest chance to resist. Baho, who was seriously injured and disheartened, was slowly attracted by Lin Jun's words. He yearned for it, and his mind resistance became weaker and weaker. About 5 minutes later, Lin Jun's mind power was released at full force. Baho, wake up. Crack. Something seemed to break. Baho's long-held belief suddenly collapsed. He lost his mind. Lin Jun seized the opportunity and successfully locked his soul lock in one fell swoop. Seeing Baho's confused eyes turn to sobriety and worship, Lin Jun was excited. He did it. He successfully locked the soul lock of a Comet Stage Master and a mid-diamond level mind reader. Without a doubt, Baho belonged to the top group of masters on Earth. If he was willing to challenge the star list, he would definitely be a member of the Heavenly Star list. Now, he had become Lin Huang's subordinate. He would be Lin Huang's most powerful assistant. Lin Jun, Master, don't call me Master. Just call me by my name in the future. Okay, Lin Jun, I seem to have understood a lot of things. I've been deceived in the past. There's no such thing as a starry sky, true God. There's only an endless cultivation civilization. That's right. This is the current situation we're facing. Too many people have been deceived. Give the order immediately for the remaining ascetic monks to stop resisting. If this continues, they'll all be wiped out. Baho nodded and shouted to the sky. All of you, give up resisting. Lin Jun also flew up and said to the Huaxia martial artists, there's no need to fight. The battle is over. The leaders of both sides gave the order at the same time. Everyone present was relieved. There were only 20 ascetic monks left, while the Huaxia martial artists were in a better state. There were only slightly more than 40 of them left. The rest were buried in the yellow sand. Lin Jun flew into the sky. There's no need to fight. The leader of the ascetic monks, Baho, has admitted defeat and is willing to surrender with the ascetic monks. The battle is over. The people who were almost exhausted stopped fighting and descended from the sky. Since there was no need to fight, they really needed a good rest. Brother Lin, it's all thanks to you. Lin Jun, if it weren't for you, we would all be finished. Huaxiao would also be finished. You've saved Huaxiao once again. Yes, we all owe you our lives. Lin Jun, I'll listen to you from now on. I'll do whatever you say. These Star Realm martial artists, who were high above, all expressed great kindness to Lin Jun. At this moment, Su Na excitedly said to the camera, fellow Huaxia citizens, I'm very happy to announce a piece of good news. The battle to protect the Northwest has finally come to an end. We've won. Lin Jun's rescue at the critical moment played a decisive role. More than half of the invaders from the Vatican were killed, and the rest were persuaded by Lin Jun to surrender. Of course, they have to atone for their crimes after surrendering. We'll leave all of this to Lin Jun. I believe that he will seek justice for Huaxia. I believe that after this defeat, the Vatican will no longer be a threat to Huaxia. Therefore, I'm extremely excited to tell everyone that we've won. Let's cheer. Those who are in front of the TV or mobile phone, please open your beer and kiss the people around you. Let's celebrate to our heart's content. Looking at the excited Su Na, who was dancing with joy, the dedicated cameraman next to her couldn't help but say, Su Na, will you continue to be a host tomorrow? You just said that this was your last report. Did I say that? Even if I said that, I was just joking with you. Ha! The dignified host laughed in front of the camera. Her enthusiasm infected almost everyone. The huge rock that had been pressing on their hearts was finally removed, and the clouds in the sky dispersed. Lin Jun had once again performed a magnificent feat with his actions. If his previous actions had won the hearts of the people in Bingcheng, then this time he had won the hearts of the entire Huaxia. Baho also gathered the ascetic monks. Lin Jun didn't have time to care about them now. After Baho's soul was locked by him, he would never betray him. He was very relieved. What he was concerned about now was the direction that Yan Huang had escaped in. Chapter 357. Lin Jun looked at the people who were celebrating, and his heart was not calm. Because Yin Huang had unlocked Baho's soul, no one stopped him, and he ran to the east. He had a feeling that something bad had happened in the east. Lin Jun took out the astral observation mirror from his spatial ring. The astral observation mirror was a super high magnification telescope that could even see the situation outside the solar system. Lin Jun flapped his lightning wings and rose into the air. He went straight to the atmosphere and used the astral observation mirror to observe the situation in the distance. Lin Jun stopped at a place where the air was thin and picked up the astral observation mirror. He was stunned. About 500 miles away, Yin Huang was fighting someone. His opponent was the Grand Master of the Church of Divine Grace in the capital Bay City, Su Mingyue's master, Gong Sun Du. Both Gong Sun Du and Yin Huang were in the meteor stage, but Gong Sun Du couldn't withstand Yin Huang's violent attacks. Lin Jun saw with his own eyes that Yin Huang swung the light fiend and cut off one of Gong Sun Du's hands. Gong Sun Du lost a hand and finally couldn't fight Yin Huang anymore. He turned around and ran. Yin Huang didn't chase after him. Instead, he took Gong Sun Du's spatial ring and took out a shining stone. Yin Huang placed the stone on his starry sky crown. Lin Jun immediately felt Yin Huang's aura skyrocket. Oh no, this guy's going to break through. He's going to enter the comet stage. Even Lin Jun had to admit that Yin Huang was definitely a genius. Lin Jun was confident that he could suppress him when he was in the meteor stage. After all, Lin Jun's dark star was also in the star realm. Coupled with his quasi-star realm Dantian Qi, it was enough to fight Yin Huang. However, if such a person entered the comet stage, coupled with the light fiend and starry sky crown, he would definitely be stronger than Lin Jun. The vast and mighty heavenly light from the astral crown descended. Bathed in the intense light, Yin Huang broke through very quickly. In just a short while, he had completely entered the week of comet. His aura surged to an unparalleled level. He turned around and charged towards the desert once again. Lin Jun hurriedly descended from the sky and said to Baho, "I saw that Yin Huang found a stone from Gong Sun Du and embedded it into the starry sky crown. He has already broken through and reached the comet week realm. Furthermore, he is rushing back here. What's going on?" When Baho heard this, his expression changed. Oh no, Yin Huang found the Holy Light Stone? What is a Holy Light Stone? That's the main stone of the Astral Crown. With this stone, the Astral Crown is complete. The user will have an endless stream of astral power and holy light support. The astral power is unimaginable, especially since Yin Huang has comprehended the power of light atoms. It's almost impossible to resist. Is he really that powerful? Of course. Lin Jun, hurry up and leave. We're exhausted now. If he comes, it'll definitely be a massacre. Before Baho could finish his sentence, a streak of light rapidly approached from the horizon. Ha ha ha. The heavens haven't forsaken me, Yin Huang. The Holy Light Stone is actually in Gong Sun Du's hands. Moreover, this guy actually wants to participate in the battle. This is equivalent to giving the Holy Light Stone to me for free. This time, none of you will be able to escape. An enormous amount of astral power surged in this direction. As he flew, the clouds spread to both sides. It looked extremely terrifying. Lin Jun turned his head and immediately said to Jin Shichao and the others, "All of you retreat. Don't stay here and continue fighting." The current Yin Huang might not even be able to fight against an ordinary heavenly star ranker. Numbers won't be of much use to him. The people who were celebrating a moment ago were stunned. Yin Huang had actually come back for the kill. Seeing that Lin Jun had beaten up Yin Huang, two Heavenly Realm martial artists didn't take Yin Huang seriously and took the initiative to greet him. "Come back quickly," Lin Jun shouted anxiously, but it was already too late. The corner of Yin Huang's mouth curled into a sneer. The fiendish light in his hand was destroyed. A beam of light descended from the sky and instantly vaporized the two Heavenly Realm martial artists. "Light's judgment. He can use Light's judgment alone," Baho said in shock. "Retreat quickly. Get as far away as you can." Yin Huang was already close. He waved the light fiend in his hand, and waved it at a row of flying machines in the sky. Noisy flies, so annoying. The beam of light appeared again, and the row of flying machines exploded with a rumble. Only a few of them survived. At this moment, the people realized that things were not good. They all fled in different directions. Baho originally wanted to greet him, but he was pulled back by Lin Jun. "Go quickly. I'll hold him off." Baho was Lin Jun's treasure. Although he was strong, he was now seriously injured. He definitely couldn't fight Yin Huang head-on. When Yin Huang saw this scene, killing intent appeared in his eyes. "Great, my Lord Inquisitor. I've only left for a while, and you've actually colluded with Lin Jun. You've actually betrayed the Vatican. To think that I trusted you so much. Yin Huang, you've been tyrannical and tried to use force to conquer the world. I've been deceived by you before. Now, I've come to realize that your evil deeds will never succeed. Childish. I now have great strength. Those who follow me will prosper, and those who oppose me will die. What can I do? Since you've already betrayed the Vatican, then die together with me." He waved the light fiend in his hand. Only now could the light fiend unleash its greatest power. This top-grade sacred artifact was indeed powerful. He could finally use it freely today. Light's judgment blasted down again. The astral power contained in it was as vast as the sea. Open. Lin Jun appeared in front of Light's judgment and blasted out a thunder kill. The dazzling energy caused a violent explosion. The whole world seemed to be shaking. Lin Jun was blasted into the desert by Yin Huang's Light's judgment. "Ahaha! How's that, Lin Jun? Now you know what true strength is. What are you waiting for?" Lin Jun directly gave Baho an order. Baho couldn't resist Lin Jun's will. He flew into the sky and led the ascetics into the distance. However, these people didn't go too far. They were still worried about Lin Jun facing the enemy alone. They watched from afar. Even Su Na's surviving aircraft was still filming from afar. Yin Huang wasn't in a hurry to chase. Instead, he looked at Lin Jun like a cat playing with a mouse. In his opinion, as long as he got rid of Lin Jun, he would succeed. Lin Jun's body slammed into the yellow sand, but the next moment, he appeared behind Yin Huang. Lin Jun wanted to test the strength of Yin Huang, who was in the comet stage. Spear thrust. The death scythe was swung and slashed. The raging light spear, a mid-grade sacred artifact, was cut into two by Yin Huang's slash. After all, the difference in quality was too great. A mid-grade sacred artifact couldn't fight against a top-grade sacred artifact. "Go to hell, Lin Jun. Our enmity will be settled today." The death scythe was swung like a windmill. Large groups of saber light attacked like a storm. After losing his weapon, Lin Jun wasn't discouraged. He used his mental power to drive the 7 7-star sabers to attack Yin Huang from all angles. "How can these things stop me? What a joke." Yin Huang swung his death scythe, sending the 7-star sabers flying everywhere. He rushed in front of Lin Jun. "Take this." A sword suddenly appeared in Lin Jun's hand. It was a top-grade sacred artifact sword. It was Shu Mingxuan's sword. Yin Huang sneered. "It's useless." The death scythe slashed across Lin Jun's chest. This attack almost shattered Lin Jun's sternum. His chest was immediately mangled. Large mouthfuls of blood sprayed out from Lin Jun's mouth. Lin Jun's sword only left a small wound on Yin Huang's body, causing his body to tilt to one side. In terms of absolute strength, Yin Huang had now surpassed Lin Jun. However, Lin Jun didn't care about his wound at all. Instead, his mind moved. Space cut. A black spatial rift appeared beside Yin Huang. Yin Huang hurriedly adjusted his body to dodge again. Lin Jun used his gravity to force Yin Huang to crash into the spatial rift. Puff! Blood splattered. Yin Huang's body was cut in half from the middle. His entire body was cut in half. The death scythe formed by the light fiend floated in the air. The two halves of the body floated in the air and hadn't landed yet. Lin Jun's mind relaxed. His vision turned black, and he almost fell from the sky. That was close. If it weren't for his spatial rift being impossible to guard against, he would have lost the battle. Even so, he had suffered an unprecedented injury. Yin Huang's attack had taken away half of his life. The people in the distance who hadn't left hurriedly rushed over to Lin Jun. They wanted to see how Lin Jun was doing. Suna's camera was still filming in the distance. She was urgently reporting to the national audience. Things changed just now. Yin Huang, who had escaped, suddenly came back. He became even stronger. Fortunately, he was still not stronger than Lin Jun. He was killed by Lin Jun. However, our hero seems to be injured. We're going to check on him now. The surrounding people were rushing over to Lin Jun. Only Baho was shouting in horror from a distance. Run. Don't come close. Lin Jun, you should run too. Otherwise, it will be too late. What? Lin Jun was on the verge of collapse. He looked at Baho in confusion. Wasn't Yin Huang already dead? Be careful. Look at the starry sky crown. Be careful of his immortal body. What? Immortal body? Lin Jun was shocked. He looked at Yin Huang again and realized that the two halves of Yin Huang's body hadn't fallen to the ground. The starry sky crown on his head was emitting a strong light. It was still daytime, but there was a large amount of star power pouring down from the sky. CSISISI. The dazzling starlight made people not dare to look at it directly. Yin Huang's body actually closed up miraculously. Yin Huang's eyes suddenly opened, and he let out an earth-shattering laugh. Wahahaha! Immortal body. Baho was right. With the support of the complete starry sky crown and the recovery of the light atoms, the person who carries the starry sky crown has an immortal body. Lin Jun, you do have a lot of tricks up your sleeves. You were actually able to plot against me, even when you were at a disadvantage. However, you would never have thought that I have an immortal body. Let's see if you can take my next attack. Light of Judgment. Chapter 358. Facing Yin Huang's baleful light, Lin Jun was a bit annoyed. At least half of Yin Huang's current strength came from his starry sky crown and baleful light. Weapons were also a part of one's strength. Lin Jun couldn't do anything about it. Moreover, Yin Huang's strength was at its peak, while his injuries weren't light. Lin Jun couldn't continue fighting. He flapped his lightning wings and retreated. Yin Huang chased after him. No one is allowed to follow. Everyone leave. Lin Jun roared. In fact, no one could keep up with their speed. They turned into two streaks of light and disappeared into the horizon. The two quickly flew through the clouds. Lin Jun's most important task now was to shake off Yin Huang. The lightning wings had 4 times the speed of sound. In addition to Lin Jun's own speed, it was about the same as Yin Huang's speed. The two of them quickly left the desert area and headed straight for the western continent. Lin Jun, today, even if I have to go to heaven or hell, I will eliminate you. Yin Huang's face was ferocious. The baleful light in his hand would occasionally attack with a blade of light. In his opinion, Lin Jun's injuries were severe. He would catch up and kill him sooner or later. Because he was wearing the starry sky crown, it could provide him with an endless supply of astral energy. He would exhaust Lin Jun to death. Lin Jun made use of the lightning wing's agility to dodge to the side from time to time, letting the blades of light pass by. He was indeed heavily injured. However, if he were to fly, Lin Jun could last for a long time. His flight mainly relied on the lightning wings. Moreover, his dark star could provide him with an endless supply of astral energy. If it weren't for the wound on his chest that couldn't be treated, he and Yin Huang could have chased for a year. Lin Jun didn't just fly above the clouds. That would be too conspicuous. He lowered his body and flew at a low altitude. A headquarters city appeared below. It was the Paris headquarters city. Lin Jun lowered his head and descended from the clouds. He arrived a few dozen meters above the headquarters city. He passed through the buildings and used the buildings to avoid Yin Huang's pursuit. You want to get rid of me? Dream on. Yin Huang also followed closely behind Lin Jun and rushed down. Hoo-hoo! On a lawn in the park, 2 people rushed over with a wave of air, causing a person who was exercising to be swept up more than 10 meters into the air and hung on a big tree. Swish, swish. The more Lin Jun flew, the more dangerous it was. In front of him was a fast food restaurant. Lin Jun directly rushed in from the revolving door on the first floor. A gust of wind blew, and he directly flew out from the back window. Yin Huang, on the other hand, was much more violent. With a wave of the baleful light in his hand, he broke through the wall, causing the deaths of several innocent mortals. In front of him was the Eiffel Tower. Lin Jun passed through the Arc de Triomphe and went up to the Eiffel Tower. His body flew in a curve, using the steel of the Eiffel Tower to block Yin Huang. These are all useless. Don't waste your time. The fiendish light danced wildly, and the iron tower collapsed with a rumble. It did not obstruct Yin Huang in the slightest. Instead, the scene of the two people chasing each other at high speed was captured by many people and posted on the internet. This also made people feel even more disgusted with Yin Huang. This person was called the Pope, but he did not care about human lives at all. There is a clear distinction between martial artists and mortals. As long as a mortal did not provoke a martial artist, even the worst martial artist would rarely take the initiative to harm a mortal. It was just like how a normal adult would never find trouble with a baby. But Yin Huang was different. After obtaining great power, he could no longer control himself. His attitude of, "Those who follow me will prosper, and those who oppose me will perish," was very obvious. Regardless of whether they were warriors or mortals, those who blocked his path would be eradicated. This also made the people of the Divine Church feel even more alienated. More and more people quit the church. The Holy See was almost dead in name only. Lin Jun also saw that it was not realistic to use the various terrains of the base city to avoid Yin Huang. He simply rose again and continued to fly west. The two rushed out of the range of the Paris Bay City and soon reached the coastline. In front of them was the vast Atlantic Ocean. Lin Jun did not hesitate at all. Like an arrow, he shot to the bottom of the sea. Yin Huang also dived into the bottom of the sea. The two of them maintained an extremely high speed in the bottom of the sea, leaving behind 2 lines of water as they flew. However, he was at a slight disadvantage in the underwater forest. The surface area of the Thunderlight wings was relatively large, and the resistance underwater increased, causing his speed to slow down quite a bit. On the other hand, Yin Huang did not have such a great resistance, and the distance between the two of them was slowly closing. A huge monster fish swam over. Lin Jun moved forward in a curve and dodged the monster fish's big mouth, hoping that the monster fish would be able to stop Yin Huang for a while. The light fiend in Yin Huang's hand rampaged. It emitted a light blade in the water and directly cut the monster fish in half. Damn it, even an SS-grade marine monster can't do anything to stop him. I guess a quasi-SSS-grade monster would be useless. Only a real SSS-grade monster would be able to do it. However, SSS-grade marine monsters were rare. They were predators at the top of the food chain on Earth. Even the experts on the Heavenly Star list were not willing to provoke SSS-grade monsters. The two were getting lower and lower. They were already above the seabed. Lin Jun moved through the coral reef, using the terrain to shake off Yin Huang. However, Yin Huang used his absolute speed to close the gap again and again. A huge humpback whale swam in front of them. Lin Jun was pleasantly surprised. He threw a throwing knife over and cut a small hole in the whale's body. The whale angrily rushed over. Lin Jun dodged, but Yin Huang also dodged. Although this guy was a lot more violent, he was not brainless. He wanted to kill Lin Jun now, and no one could stop him. Phew, I can't go on like this. My injuries are a bit serious. He will catch up to me sooner or later. Where else on Earth can I shake him off? Lin Jun quickly thought. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration. Got it. I'm really stubborn. I actually limited my own thinking. Why must it be on Earth? Earth is not safe no matter what. Flapping his Thunderlight wings, Lin Jun quickly rose into the air, leaving behind a trail of water as he soared into the sky. Poo-pee-you. The two people shot out from the bottom of the sea like cannonballs. The group of mutated seagulls in the sky were shocked. They wanted to attack Lin Jun, but they were frozen into ice sculptures by a throwing knife and fell into the sea. Seeing Lin Jun in front of him soar into the sky again, Yin Huang laughed loudly. His voice surged from behind. Lin Jun, have you run out of tricks? The crowd can't help you, and the sea can't help you. Where else can you go now? There is not even a shelter in the sky. It is not suitable to be your grave. Lin Jun did not pay attention to him. He raised his speed to the maximum. He passed through the strong winds, the white clouds, the troposphere, and went straight into the dark sky. You actually want to escape into space. Yin Huang was stunned for a moment. Then, a trace of ruthlessness appeared in the corner of his mouth. Lin Jun, you can't escape. Even if you are in space, I will still catch up to you and kill you. Gradually, the two left the Earth's gravity. A full 7 hours passed. The moon in front of them became clearer. The distance between Earth and the moon was only a few 100,000 kilometers. If they really flew to the moon, Lin Jun and Yin Huang would need to fly for about a day with their speed. Lin Jun, idiot! There are only a few craters on the moon. If you go there, you'll just be courting death. Besides, you're already injured. When the bleeding from your wounds affects your physical strength, your speed will decrease. If this goes on, the gap between us will be closed in 2 days at most. When that time comes, you'll die. Lin Jun also knew that his wounds could not be treated effectively. Although the light particles were constantly healing his wounds, he was also constantly flying and moving, preventing his wounds from forming a scab. Who told you that I am going to the moon? This is just a scenery on our long journey. I am taking you this way to let you see the familiar scenery one last time. You will not be able to see it in the future. What nonsense are you talking about? Yin Huang slashed out another light blade from behind. Lin Jun twisted his body to dodge. Do you think you can catch up to me in 2 days? But I don't think so. Yin Huang, I'm going to take you on a long journey in the galaxy. Lin Jun was not joking with Yin Huang. He had already thought of a way to get rid of Yin Huang. Although his wounds could not be treated, his lightning wings were constantly moving. The power of electricity in the dark star was still nourishing them. This nourishment was very slow, but one thing was certain. The speed of the lightning wings was constantly increasing. However, the speed of increase was very slow. It would not appear in a short period of time. As for the problem of his wounds, Lin Jun released the cold energy in the dark star again, temporarily freezing the injured parts. This way, the blood would not flow out. When he was safe, he would let the power of light heal it. In the beginning, Yin Huang did not believe that Lin Jun could fly in space. However, everything that happened in reality made him believe it. The flight time had exceeded 24 hours. The two of them were already more than 100,000 kilometers away from Earth. Yin Huang looked to the left. The moon in the distance was slowly moving. Looking from here, the surface of the moon was gray and ugly. It no longer had the elegance of the moon in the human world. When he looked back, there was a huge blue planet in the distance. That was Earth. Yin Huang had never thought that he would be able to see the whole picture of Earth so clearly. Moreover, he was not in an aircraft, but floating in space alone. Yin Huang was a little tired of flying. He really wanted to take out an aircraft and sit on it. However, very few aircraft on Earth could fly out of the atmosphere and wander in space. Looking at Lin Jun, in front of him who was still flapping his wings and flying into the depths of the universe, Yin Huang really wanted to call him an idiot. Do you want to go on a space adventure with your own strength? Don't look at your speed on Earth. In space, your speed is like a snail. Madman, do you think you can drag me to death like this? Let me tell you, you can't do it. I will definitely catch up with you. Then come on. If you can chase me to Mars, I will admit defeat. Yin Huang had a headache. Things had already come to this. He had to continue the chase no matter what. If he went to Mars, it might take 2 years if he was lucky because Mars also had an orbit. Looking at Yin Huang, who was still chasing after him from a few thousand meters away, Lin Jun sneered. Chapter 359. Lin Jun has seen this aircraft. Its internal energy storage is running low, but it can still support a flight of millions of kilometers. His plan is to lead Yin Huang into space, fly far away, and then return by aircraft. After making up his mind, Lin Jun and Yin Huang began a long space journey. The speed of the two people is about 100,000 kilometers per day. After leaving the Earth, they headed in the direction of Mars. On the 3rd day of flight, Yin Huang thought that Lin Jun was barely holding on. At this time, he was still making sarcastic remarks. Lin Jun, I really admire your courage and perseverance. You can persist for 3 days, but I think your injuries are about to flare up. After flying for 5 days, Yin Huang felt that Lin Jun's injury doesn't seem to be as serious as he thought. On the 7th day, Yin Huang discovered that Lin Jun seemed to be the same as him, able to persevere. He was a little scared at this time, because when he looked back, he found that the Earth has become smaller. The originally huge blue planet looks a little far away. It must be known that the distance seen in space is really far. He estimated that he is almost 1,000,000 kilometers away from the Earth at this time. He was a little shaken. In order to kill Lin Jun, does he really have to spend 2 years chasing him to Mars? Yin Huang's movements were a little slow due to his thoughts. Lin Jun, who was flying in front of him, also noticed the situation. After calculating the distance, it's time for him to return. Taking out Xu Mingxuan's aircraft from his space ring, Lin Jun opened the door and walked in. He has seen this kind of aircraft too many times in his previous life, and he is extremely proficient in operating it. A small cabin, the lowest level of interstellar aircraft in the Sky River Empire. It has a maximum flight speed of 10,000 meters per second, internal energy storage, and a maximum flight range of 5 million kilometers. The current energy storage is about a quarter of its full capacity, so it should be able to fly 25 million kilometers. I left the Earth for 7 days, flying about 1,000,000 kilometers. With this aircraft, I can get home in a little more than a day. As for Yin Huang, you can continue to wander in the interstellar space for 7 days. I won't accompany you. Lin Jun was lying on the bed in the small house. He looked at Yin Huang through the window. The aircraft drew an arc and flew past him. Yin Huang, who was debating whether or not to continue chasing after Lin Jun, was stunned. He looked at the strange little house and the sarcastic smile on Lin Jun's face behind the window. Oh no! Yin Huang's eyes were full of disbelief. He put his hands in his hair and watched Lin Jun pass by in the distance. Why do you have an aircraft? Why do you have such a flying device? With this kind of aircraft, why did you fly with me in space for 7 days? Lin Jun chuckled. He thought to himself, if I don't fly with you for 7 days, how would I have the time to recover and prepare to deal with you? However, Lin Jun didn't want to waste any more words with Yin Huang. He wanted to return to Earth immediately and take the time to heal his injuries. He also wanted to go to the last lake of the 5 Dalian pools, Lake Rui, to look for the last meteorite. Therefore, he accelerated the aircraft and flew away quickly. Yin Huang was about to leave Lin Jun behind. Yin Huang also looked at Lin Jun in despair. However, in the depths of the universe, a black dot floated over. Lin Jun turned around abruptly and immediately knew that something was wrong. It was actually a group of meteorites. I can't be so unlucky. I actually encountered a group of meteorites. Using an aircraft in a group of meteorites was akin to seeking death. Lin Jun hurriedly came out of the small house. As soon as he came out, a large group of meteorites whizzed past. Lin Jun's figure was submerged in these celestial fragments. Yin Huang was further away. When he saw this situation, he was so scared that his legs went soft. Without any hesitation, he turned around and flew in the direction of Earth. Lin Jun, who told you to be cocky? You can turn into cosmic dust together with the meteorites. I'm going back to Earth. I now have powerful strength. This is my capital. When I return to Earth, those who betrayed me, those who disobeyed me, I will take revenge on all of them. Yin Huang no longer thought about Lin Jun. In his opinion, Lin Jun, who was swallowed by the group of meteorites, would definitely die. The speed of the group of meteorites was even faster than Yin Huang. They flew further and further away in the universe. Yin Huang didn't even dare to look back. He only wanted to be as far away from these terrifying celestial bodies as possible. Lin Jun entered the group of meteorites. He was surrounded by celestial bodies that were like small mountains. They were moving at a speed that was several times faster than the speed of sound. Lin Jun flapped his lightning wings and dodged several celestial bodies that collided with him. I don't know where these meteorites came from. I should stay and take a look. Lin Jun flapped his thunderlight wings and approached a huge meteorite that was flying beside him. This meteorite was more than 20 kilometers in diameter. It could be considered a big guy. Lin Jun landed on it and immediately felt a strong astral force. This should be a broken asteroid. The astral force on it hasn't completely dissipated. Lin Jun looked down. These meteorites seem to be heading towards Earth. When meteorites fall on Earth, they have to burn through the atmosphere. The big ones will become small, and the small ones will directly evaporate. Ordinary meteorites don't pose much of a threat to Earth, but these meteorites are different. The largest of these meteorites are hundreds of kilometers in size. If they fall on Earth, they will definitely bring harm. I have to think of a way to stop them from falling on Earth. Soon, he discovered that the meteorites were moving slower than his flying speed. However, the difference wasn't too big. It would take about 10 days to reach Earth. Looking into the depths of the group of meteorites, there were a lot of them. Lin Jun could choose to leave the group of meteorites now, but he didn't do so. Since he discovered it, he should stop this disaster from happening. However, Lin Jun had no way to stop it now. His injuries were not light, and he needed time to heal. Anyway, the meteorites kept moving forward, and no one disturbed them. Lin Jun simply sat down on this large meteorite and began to heal his injuries. The healing process lasted for 2 days. While his external injuries were almost healed, he had time to carefully study these meteorites. After grabbing the meteorite, he quickly discovered the structure of the asteroid. Earth and ice, these two things are the main composition of the asteroid. The outer crust and rock layer are broken, and the core part of the asteroid has been broken into several large pieces. With my own strength, it is almost impossible to break these meteorites. If I want to stop them from falling on Earth, there is only one way. Space cut. Space cut was not a head-on collision with the meteorite. It was in the form of a space crack, breaking the meteorite itself. This was the only way. However, it was not easy to cut apart the fragments of this meteorite. This was a very big test for Lin Jun. Fortunately, my research on the power of space has never stopped. The dark star formed a space of its own in my body. The cutting power of the dark star space should be able to cut apart a large meteorite. Lin Jun made up his mind. He flapped his lightning wings and flew to the front of the group of meteorites. After nearly 10 days of space travel, Lin Jun's lightning wings had reached 5 times the speed of sound. It was much faster than the meteorites. His first target was a very small meteorite. He wanted to test if the space cut method was feasible. Arriving in front of the meteorite, with a thought, a 3-meter-long space crack appeared. Puff! The meteorite was like tofu in front of the space crack. It was directly cut in half. It was not cut in half. The shattered meteorite was cut into many pieces, turning into a pile of rubble. One of the rubble even injured Lin Jun, who was caught off guard. Moreover, at the place where the space crack appeared, a pile of rubble directly entered Lin Jun's dark star space. After these rubble entered the dark star space, they were immediately attracted by the power of the dark star. They started to revolve around the dark star. This is the power of the dark star. If the dark star was compared to the Earth, then the orbit of these meteorites would be around the Earth's equator. Seeing this scene, Lin Jun immediately thought of Jupiter's Jupiter ring. Jupiter ring was a beautiful ring formed by some broken celestial bodies that were attracted by Jupiter's gravity. Celestial bodies were actually stars, or rather, they were fragments of stars. They all contained star power. If the Earth was the same size as Jupiter, its star power would definitely not be as strong as Jupiter. This was because of the existence of Jupiter ring. Seeing the meteorites start to revolve around the dark star, and the star power on them, and the dark star complemented each other, Lin Jun was immediately overjoyed. I was just worried that my strength was not enough. Aren't these meteorites a heaven-sent opportunity? I have to make good use of it. With a thought, Lin Jun started to purposefully create space cracks. Those smaller celestial bodies were directly swallowed by his space cracks. They entered the dark star space and revolved around the dark star's equator. As for the larger celestial bodies, they still needed to be cut. Lin Jun started to patiently cut them over and over again. As time passed, Lin Jun became more and more proficient in the space cracks. The space cracks that he could release also became bigger and bigger. At first, he could only release space cracks that were 3 meters long. After a day, he could release space cracks that were 20 meters long. The smaller rubble was directly swallowed by him into the dark star space. As for the larger ones, he would cut them into pieces and release them. When encountering those huge meteorites, Lin Zhan's space cracks were like fruit knives. They cut them in circles and dismembered them into the dark star space. As the number of meteorites around the dark star increased, a rudimentary dark star ring gradually took shape. The power of the dark star also became stronger and stronger. After being nourished by the star power of the meteorites, the situation on the dark star also gradually changed. The magma on this planet that originally belonged to the ancient deep world began to slowly cool down. The volcanoes gradually stopped erupting. The earth gradually began to take shape. The thunder and lightning in the sky also calmed down. The thick cumulonimbus clouds also became less dense. Chapter 360. Lin Zhan had never felt so good before. His Dantianqi's advancement was relatively slow because he didn't have the time to collect the dark energy stones or meditate. Therefore, it was stuck at the quasi-star realm. However, this opportunity had given his dark star the hope of advancing to the next level. After discovering that the dark star had absorbed meteorites into its orbit, he originally wanted to cut these meteorites to form a dark star ring. This would increase the star power of the dark star by at least 1/3. However, he didn't expect that the energy of these meteorites would actually cause the dark star to evolve. Lin Zhan's dark star was unprecedented. This was a real planet. It was different from the Dantianqi's star core stage, meteor stage, etc. It was a different realm. According to Lin Zhan's feelings and research, he divided the evolution of the dark star into 6 stages. The first stage was the ancient netherworld era. To be more precise, it was called the ancient netherworld era. During the ancient netherworld era, his dark star was a huge magma ball. It didn't have mountains or land. Even the atmosphere wasn't completely formed. At this time, the dark star was just like the Earth in its infancy. It couldn't provide Lin Zhan with a lot of star power, which corresponded to the star core stage of the cultivation system. After absorbing meteorites into the dark star space and seeing the evolution of the dark star, Lin Zhan's conjecture was verified. After the ancient netherworld era, the second stage was called the immemorial era. The immemorial era was the stage where the planet's magma layers started to solidify and gradually form the Earth's crust. The magma of the ancient netherworld era turned into volcanic rock and sedimentary rock. When the liquid material solidified, the water started to flow and gather, forming some valleys and large potholes. This was the embryonic form of the ocean. The resulting gas started to form the atmosphere, and the wind started to move the atmosphere. The star power of the immemorial era was equivalent to the meteor stage of the cultivation system. After the immemorial era, there was the Proterozoic era. At this time, the Earth's crust moved, mountains appeared, and the planet's plates shifted. The surface temperature dropped further, and when it reached the freezing point, it formed a global glacier. Life also started to form at this time, but it was in a dormant state. The star power at this time was equivalent to the comet stage. After the Proterozoic era, there was the Phanerozoic era, the Mesozoic era, and the Cenozoic era. This was the evolution process of the dark star that Lin Zhan thought. The star power of the Phanerozoic universe was roughly equivalent to the satellite stage of the third-level eternal realm. On the other hand, the Mesozoic era was equivalent to the planet stage of the third-level eternal realm, while the Cenozoic era was equivalent to the stellar stage. As for what came after the stellar stage, Lin Zhan couldn't guess for the time being because it was too far away. But the most important thing right now was that Lin Zhan had to cut up the meteorite and absorb it into the dark star space as soon as possible. This would form the dark star ring and allow the dark star to enter the primeval universe. Once he succeeded, Lin Zhan would have the star power equivalent to the meteor stage. With the addition of the star rings, he could even have the strength of a mid-stage meteor. This process was undoubtedly Lin Zhan's greatest opportunity since he started cultivating, and it was also his greatest improvement. Once he succeeded, Lin Zhan would no longer be afraid of Yanhuang. His strength would definitely be able to leap into the heavenly star ranking, and he might not even be at the bottom. forcefully suppressing the bursts of excitement in his heart. Lin Jun used the space cut again and again. As the power of the dark star continued to increase, the power of his space cut also increased. On the third day, his space crack could already reach a length of 50 meters and a width of more than 10 meters. It could even easily swallow and absorb small pieces of meteorite. On the fifth day, the dark star ring around Lin Jun's dark star had basically condensed, and the dark star was about to evolve from the ancient netherworld universe to the primeval universe. His space crack had also reached a length of 80 meters. The increasing power made Lin Jun want to cheer. He even hoped that this process would continue. Unfortunately, Lin Jun didn't have that much time. This small planet had basically been used up by Lin Jun after so many days of cutting. Only a few of the largest meteorites were left. When Lin Jun looked back, he could even see the Earth clearly. In 3 days, I will return to Earth. I must also finish cutting these large meteorites. I believe that at that time, my dark star will have truly evolved to the primeval universe. I will also be a super expert with the strength of the meteor stage. Forcefully suppressing the excitement in his heart, Lin Jun continued his great undertaking of cutting. Lin Jun, damn guy, you actually made me fly in space for half a month in vain. I curse you. I curse you to be smashed into pieces by those meteorites. I curse you to become the dust of the universe. Yin Huang landed on Earth. His landing point was the Qinghai Tibet Plateau of China. At this moment, he was sitting at the top of Mount Everest, trying his best to recover his strength. Half a month of wandering in the starry sky had made him feel physically and mentally exhausted. Moreover, he still needed to stabilize his realm in the comet stage. After breaking through, he didn't have the opportunity to do so. Now that he had finally returned to Earth, he finally had a chance to recuperate. Yin Huang believed that his strength had already reached the peak of Earth's martial artists. Not to mention that Lin Jun wasn't his opponent. He wasn't even afraid of the experts on the Heavenly Star list. Of course, he knew in his heart that half of his strength came from the Starry Sky Crown and the Light Fiend. The Light Fiend was his most handy weapon, and the Starry Sky Crown was the source of his strength. As long as he had these two things in his hands, he would have an immortal body. He wasn't afraid of anyone. There were 4 small hooks on the Starry Sky Crown. In the past, he had kept them. Now, Yin Huang simply pierced the hooks in his flesh and blood, completely connecting with him. This way, his strength would be guaranteed. After resting on Mount Everest for 2 days, Yin Huang finally stabilized his realm in the comet stage. He looked at the star list. Lin Jun was still on the dark star list. His position hadn't changed. This proved that Lin Jun was still alive. You might have started your long interstellar travel. Maybe you'll never come back. But even if you don't come back, I won't let your family off. Yin Huang thought a lot these 2 days. He also read a lot of things on the internet. The church had completely declined. Now, there were probably less than 10 million believers in the world. There wasn't even a single core force left. The most serious blow to the church was when Baguio led the ascetics to withdraw from the church. He also claimed that there was no starry sky true God and that everything was a lie. The words of the former Holy Son of Light were undoubtedly a heavy blow to the Church of God. A wave of mass withdrawals began all over the world. Almost all the churches were burned down, and Baguio was the first to burn down the Holy Might Church in Constantinople. Even if there were still some die-hard believers in the church, they wouldn't be able to make a difference. Yin Huang didn't have the intention to establish a church anymore. His current goal had shifted to personal cultivation. Ever since he had obtained the Holy Light Stone, he had seen through this point. Beliefs were useless. The only thing that mattered was strength. As long as he had strength, he would have everything. A church without strength was just a castle in the air. It would collapse very easily. He decided to work hard on his cultivation and challenge the masters on the Heavenly Star list. However, before that, he had to vent his anger. Lin Jun had caused him so much trouble. Now that he couldn't kill Lin Jun, he had to vent his anger on Lin Jun's family. Many people on the internet were speculating about Lin Jun and his whereabouts. Even Lin Jun's family members had become celebrities. Yin Huang saw a post where many people prayed for Lin Jun in Ice City. They also wished for Lin Jun's parents to be healthy and live a long life. Lin Jun's parents were also photographed. They were currently living in their home in Ice City base city of Huaxia. I'll kill your parents. Let's see who can stop me. After resting for 2 days, Yin Huang felt better than ever. He was stronger than ever. He came down from Mount Everest, stepped on the void, and headed straight for Ice City base city. The distance between Mount Everest and Ice City was 7,000 kilometers. However, for Yin Huang, who had been through interstellar travel and thought that he had seen the world, this was not a long distance. He arrived in just over an hour. When Yin Huang appeared in the sky above Ice City base city, the Ice City Defense Army immediately sounded the alarm and posted the news of Yin Huang's appearance on the internet. Yin Huang's strength was undeniable. Only masters like Lin Jun could fight against him. The Ice City Defense Army would definitely not be able to stop him. Yin Huang walked step by step in the void and gradually approached Lin Jun's home. He lowered his head and looked at the people running in panic below. His heart was full of joy. Why did he create trouble for the Vatican in the first place? This kind of life where he looked down on the world and took revenge was what a martial artist should live. He didn't have to wear the mask of the Pope anymore. He could do whatever he wanted. From now on, no matter who mentioned his name, Yin Huang Lucifer, they would only tremble. When people found out that Yin Huang had appeared in Ice City from the internet, they immediately realized what Yin Huang wanted to do. However, at this moment, who could stop Yin Huang from committing murder? A large screen was erected on a flying device. On the screen was the mayor of Ice City base city, Lu Ming. The flying device hovered, and Lu Ming said to Yin Huang, "Yin Huang, no matter what feud you have with Lin Jun, I hope you can settle it according to the rules between martial artists. You are not allowed to touch Lin Jun's family." So noisy. A small mayor of a base city dares to be so arrogant in front of me. Get lost. With a wave of his light fiend, a light blade shattered the flying device. After that attack, he waved his light fiend again. The light blade drew a long and deep trench on the ground, extending from the Zhongbei Villa area to Lin Jun's home. Everyone, pay attention. If anyone dares to approach this ditch, I will bury him in this ditch. Yin Huang walked along the trench until he reached Lin Jun's home. No one dared to stop him. He wanted to use this method to announce his change. He was no longer the benevolent Pope, but the king of hell. At the end of the trench, someone finally stood there and blocked Yin Huang's path. He looked to be in his 30s. He was dressed in green, and his eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. Yin Huang was shocked when he saw this person. Then he sneered. Chapter 361. Chun Fenglia's appearance lifted everyone's spirits. One had to know that Chun Fenglai was a master on the heavenly list. He was the strongest person in China in the past 100 years and was known as the #1 in China. Now that Yin Huang was so arrogant that he killed his way to Lin Jun's house, it was difficult for the city guards and martial artists to stop him. Anyone who tried to stop him would be courting death. If he killed Lin Jun's parents under such circumstances, then people would be ashamed to face Lin Jun. Therefore, Chun Fenglia's arrival was especially timely. Chun Fenglai reached out his hand and flicked the dust off his green robe. Then, he faced Yin Huang and said, "Yin Huang Lucifer, it doesn't matter if I'm embarrassed or not. A barbarian like you probably doesn't know what integrity is. Lin Jun is the hero of China. His parents should be protected by us. As for whether I win or lose, it doesn't matter. Besides, do you think you're my opponent?" Chun Fenglia's eyelids twitched slightly, revealing his contempt. "Well said," someone shouted. Then, the surrounding onlookers applauded Chun Fenglai enthusiastically. Back then, there was a rumor that Chun Fenglai and Lin Jun had a feud because Lin Jun killed the president of Lifeng, Yu Jianhua. Now, it seemed that it wasn't the case at all. Yin Huang was annoyed by Chun Fenglia's contempt. "Chun Fenglai, I'm not afraid of you. Although you're a master on the Heavenly Star list, I have to remind you that the rule that the Heavenly Star list can't interfere with mortal affairs was set by Yin Chiye from China. Now that you're standing in front of me, aren't you afraid that the Heavenly Star list from the European Union and other countries will attack?" Chun Fenglai laughed. "It's just hearsay. Yes, there's a rule that states that the Heavenly Star list can't interfere with mortal affairs. However, that refers to the major matters of the human world. Saving someone alone is not included. The corner of Yin Huang's eyes twitched. You're determined to ruin my plans. No, you're determined to be stubborn and insist on humiliating yourself. Yin Huang closed his eyes. If that's the case, let me see the strength of a master on the heavenly star list. The fiendish light in his hand transformed into the death god's scythe. Yin Huang felt that this kind of scythe was very convenient to use. The sword in Chen Fenglai's hand was called Flowing Rainbow. It was also a top-grade sacred artifact. Just by wielding in his hand, a sharp sword beam surged forward. Yin Huang felt his clothes fluttering behind him as his hair was cut off by the formless sword chi. What a terrifying sword intent! Yin Huang was secretly shocked, but his hands were not idle at all. He leaped forward and swung the Grim Reaper scythe. Chen Fenglai, give me your position on the heavenly star ranking. Amidst the strong light, the baleful light slashed down heavily. Flying 10,000 swords, Chen Fenglai didn't move, but the invisible sword chi around him suddenly came to life. People seemed to be able to see invisible swords stabbing at Yin Huang at high speed in the air. Yin Huang was in the air, waving the death scythe left and right, slashing the air with a series of metal clashing sounds, and countless sparks even bloomed around him. Streaks of sword chi swept past like a hurricane. Yin Huang's every move was exposed, and he was stabbed by a sword. Blood rose from his shoulder. After being stabbed once, it was the second, the third, and even the 10th and 100th sword. The formless sword chi was like rain hitting a banana leaf. Yin Huang's body kept spinning in the air, and blood rained down like rain. Plop! Yin Huang's body fell heavily to the ground, sliding a few dozen meters away. Blood flowed like a river on the ground. My holy light set. Ugh! The holy light set that protected Yin Huang's body was shattered, hanging on his body like a piece of junk. There were hundreds of wounds of various sizes on his body. Some were superficial, some had reached his abdomen, and some had even broken his bones. As for Chen Fenglai, who had beaten Yin Huang so miserably, he didn't move at all. He didn't even lift a finger. Even his flowing rainbow didn't make a single move. Mr. Chen is amazing. Mr. Chen is amazing. No wonder he is the most powerful fighter in China. Yin Huang, did you see that? First, Lin Zhun came to deal with you. Now, Mr. Chen Fenglai is here to deal with you. China is not a place where you can do whatever you want. Kneel down and surrender. Thousands of people had gathered at the scene, but they were all very far away. People were shouting from afar. Behind Chen Fenglai was Lin Zhun's house. Lin Lie and Li Qin were on the second floor. They looked down at Chen Fenglai, who was guarding their house, and their hearts were filled with emotions. Chen Fenglai was the idol of 2 generations in China. People of Lin Lie's age and his parents' generation had all witnessed the legend of Chen Fenglai. They were all familiar with the name of the most powerful fighter in China. But since when did the #1 expert in Huaxia actually stand in front of their house to protect them? How great was this honor and honor? All of this was because they had a good son, Lin Zhun. They just didn't know where Lin Zhun was. Lin Lie and Li Qin really wanted to be with their son and live a peaceful life. Yin Huang stood up shakily and stared at Chen Fenglai with his face full of blood. I admit that I underestimated you. The power of your invisible sword chi is beyond my expectations. But Chen Fenglai, you can't defeat me. Is that so? Chen Fenglai felt that this person was really stubborn. He was still bragging, even when his face was full of blood. The starry sky crown on Yin Huang's head emitted white light. It was like a halo that enveloped Yin Huang. Under the halo, his wounds healed quickly. The small wounds healed almost instantly, and the big ones healed in 2 to 3 seconds. Your crown. Chen Fenglai finally noticed the starry sky crown on Yin Huang's head. This is a super sacred weapon that was tailor-made for me. Chen Fenglai, even if you can knock me down once, I can still stand up. If you knock me down 100 times, I will still get up 100 times to continue attacking you. You better pray that you don't get hurt at all. Otherwise, you won't be far from death. Holding the light termination in his hand again, Yin Huang raised his hand. The strong light from the light termination swept across like a supernova explosion. Even Chun Fenlai had to raise his hand to block it. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yin Huang teleported and slashed the death scythe at Chun Fenlai again. Chun Fenlai, admit defeat. No matter how strong you are, you can't defeat me because I have an immortal body. The space was torn apart by the death scythe's attack. The strong light slashed at Chun Fenlai's neck. Chun Fenlai didn't use flying swords this time. Instead, he used flowing rainbow to fight with Yin Huang. Yin Huang only knew how strong Chun Fenlai was after the two of them exchanged blows. Chun Fenlai was at the late stage of the comet stage, which was slightly higher than Yin Huang. However, his combat skills and martial arts were far superior to Yin Huang, who had just advanced to the Suizhou stage. The death scythe was quickly suppressed by flowing rainbow. Amidst the strong white light, the colorful light grew brighter and brighter. The two lights clashed, and no one could see what was happening inside. Buzz! After the clear sound of the collision, the strong light disappeared. Chun Fenlai retracted his flowing rainbow and looked down at his arm. There was a wound on it. It was caused by Yin Huang's death scythe. Not bad. As a newly advanced comet stage, you were able to cause me a small injury. You are already close to the strength of the heavenly star ranker. Chun Fenlai nodded at Yin Huang. Yin Huang opened his mouth. Suddenly, blood streaks streaked across his body. The rainbow light blossomed on his shoulder and thigh. Both his hands and legs were separated from his body at the same time. Let's see to what extent the immortal body you speak of can reach. Only Yin Huang's brain and body were still connected. He opened his mouth and roared. Chun Fenlai, you are bullying the weak. You are not a hero, but this is useless. I have an immortal body. You can't kill me. Chun Fenlai laughed. Just as he was about to mock Yin Huang, he saw Yin Huang's starry sky crown emit a strong light again. His separated hands and legs were back together. Not only were they back together, but the wounds on Yin Huang's body were all healed. There were no longer any scars. What a powerful crown! Chun Fenlai couldn't help but look at the crown. Yin Huang's body recovered, and he felt that his strength had increased. Wah! The immortal body is the #1 godly skill in the world. I have recovered to my best condition. I even improved. Chun Fenlai, I have to thank you. Thank you for helping me understand the secret of the immortal body. The light in his hand rotated. Yin Huang walked closer to Chun Fenlai. I admit that you are stronger than me, but so what? Now that you've suffered a minor injury and my condition is even better than before, what will happen next? Chun Fenlai's face was serious. He said to Yin Huang, your power comes from the crown on your head. That thing can absorb the power of the stars and provide it to you. That's right, but it is useless for you to know. Unless you run now, you can live. Chun Fenlai laughed coldly. I don't need to run, but I think you don't even have the chance to run. After that, Chun Fenlai's green clothes started to flutter. Are you going to use that move again? Let me tell you, it is useless no matter how many times you hurt me. I have a mortal body. Yin Huang roared loudly. I have never believed in the so-called immortal body. Immortal is just harder to kill. Your power comes from the starry sky crown, and the starry sky crown's power comes from the starry sky. If that is the case, I will cut off your connection with the starry sky. Let's see if you still have an immortal body. Sword territory form. Chun Fenlai raised his hand, and 8 illusory swords seemed to break out of the ground. They floated around the two of them in 8 directions. These 8 swords were over 100 meters tall. They covered the sky and the sun. The dense sword aura filled the air, blocking the sunlight. What? Even sunlight can't shine in. Yin Huang was shocked. Sunlight is also a part of starlight. In my sword territory, starlight cannot shine, and the power of the stars cannot enter. Yin Huang Lucifer, do you think your starry sky crown can provide you with endless power? Chapter 362. Yin Huang had never dreamed that Chun Fenlai would have such a trick up his sleeve. His face instantly turned pale as a sheet of paper. He dared to challenge Chun Fenlai because of his immortal body. Once his immortal body is gone, he won't be far from death. Domain. You actually have the power of a domain? Yin Huang couldn't believe it. Frog at the bottom of the well, you don't need to know these things. Since you dare to come to Lin Zhen's house and commit murder, naturally, someone will deal with you. Today, I will completely eradicate this scourge. Chun Fenglai clasped his hands together, and the 8 giant swords began to rotate. Endless sword energy filled the sword domain. This time, he wants to see how many times Yin Huang's immortal body can save his life. Outside the atmosphere, a 100-meter-long spaceship was slowly passing by the moon. This is an interstellar battleship. It looks like an alien warehouse, in line with the usual style of the Sky River Empire. Inside the cockpit, 2 people were looking at the screen in front of them. On the screen was the battle between Yin Huang and Chun Fenglai. One of them has short orange hair, and the other has short red hair. The orange-haired man said to the red-haired man, "Xino, have you checked the situation of these 2 people? Don't worry, Doodle. I've already investigated. These 2 people are very famous on Earth. The man in green is called Chun Fenglai. He's the founder of the Gale Martial Arts School in China. He's known as the #1 expert in China and is ranked 17th on the Heavenly Star list on Earth. The other person is called Yin Huang, the Pope of the Star God religion. We all know that people on Earth believe in the so-called true God of the Star God, but they don't understand who the true God is. It's just a virtual totem. In fact, the image of the true God of the Star God is similar to those super masters in the Empire. Huh, don't you think it's funny? Well, I heard Xu Mingxian explain this to us. Didn't Xu Mingxian fool the Aborigines that he was the messenger of the true God and provoked a war on Earth? Yes, that guy's ambition is not small. It seems that he wants to make a big contribution. When our expeditionary army arrives, he will run over to take the credit. Damn it, he actually wants to leave us behind. Xin was very unhappy with Xu Mingxian's approach. Don't be agitated, Xin. Didn't Xu Mingxian fail? He's dead now. Doodle slowly took a sip of red wine. Yes, he failed. His plan was full of loopholes. The most important thing was that this guy ran out of the Red Rose and was beheaded by a native named Lin Zhen. Maybe he saw that we were coming, so he was too eager to make a contribution. So there's no one to receive us? Now that we're here, we have to do everything by ourselves? Graffiti was a little dissatisfied. Graffiti and XN were both people who were greedy for enjoyment. They didn't come to Earth to fight for their lives. With the experience of going to many civilizations, they knew that conquering a planet required force, but that force had to be so strong that it was unstoppable. The Empire's expeditionary army had such strength, but the 2 adventurers did not have such strength. On this planet called Earth, there were still some powerhouses with decent strength. Since they came here, they needed a spokesperson who would let them enjoy a life of luxury and command them. Xin thought for a moment and said, "It should be like this. When we come here, no one will welcome us, unless the Star Sky Church is still here. As far as I know, the Star Sky Church exists in name only. In fact, this Pope Yin Huang is all alone, so no one will welcome our arrival." Not necessarily. Graffiti pointed to Yin Huang on the screen and said, "I think this guy will definitely welcome our arrival. After all, he's still the Pope. If Xu Mingxian can encourage him to launch an Eastern expedition, there's no reason why we can't do the same. He should be the most devout believer of the Star Sky Church on this planet." You mean we should go to him? Yes, he's the Pope. Even if the Star Sky Church has declined, there should still be some people who support him. When we come here, he should be able to gather a group of people for our use. What you said seems to make sense. XNO thought for a moment and said, "But I'm afraid it won't work. Yin Huang is no match for Chun Fenglai. I don't think he'll live for long." On the screen, Chun Fenglai's sword domain had been activated, cutting off the astral power from the outside world. Yin Huang's star crown was no longer as powerful. Of course I know he's dying. That's why we need to help him at this time. If we save him, he'll listen to us wholeheartedly in the future. How? Asked XNO. It's simple. Yin Huang's astral power has been cut off by the sword domain, right? As long as we break Chun Fenglai's sword domain, his immortality will come back. As long as he's immortal, Chun Fenglai can't kill him. What do you mean? Use the energy cannon? That's right. Get ready to activate the energy cannon now. Destroy Chun Fenglie's sword domain and give Yin Huang his freedom. Okay, I'll start now. Xin busied himself in front of the console. Outside their spaceship, a huge muzzle was erected. Energy cannon charging, energy preparing, estimated time, 30 seconds, target locked. Following the prompts from the console, the cannon barrel lit up more and more. The target was locked on Huaxia's Ice City, Jiangbei District, in front of Lin Zhan's house. Within a radius of 100 meters, Chun Fenglie's sword domain was everywhere. They could hit it easily. The battle between Yin Huang and Chun Fenglai was getting more and more intense. Under the coverage of the sword domain, Yin Huang knew he had no way out. If he wanted to live, he had to defeat Chun Fenglai. This time, he used almost all his strength. His light fiend was impenetrable, resisting Chun Fenglie's 1,000 flying swords head-on. The star crown itself contained a huge amount of astral power. It could support Yin Huang for a while. But Chun Fenglai was smiling. Yin Huang was just struggling before his death. Without his immortality, he was nothing to be afraid of. Sir Qi lashed out like a storm. Yin Huang's star crown couldn't be replenished by astral power. It was only a matter of time before it was defeated. Just when he felt that victory was in his hands, he suddenly felt an inexplicable palpitation. What's going on? It was as if something was staring at him. Chun Fenglai felt it was difficult to breathe. His hand movements also slowed down. He raised his head and looked at the sky. Through the sword domain, he felt a threat coming from the distant space. What's that? In the sky, there was a little bit of light. That's not good. The light grew brighter and brighter. In an instant, it was blinding. An unbelievably powerful force cut through the sky and blasted toward the ground. This process only took 1/100th of a second. Chun Fenglai didn't even have time to react. His sword domain was hit by this huge energy pillar that came down from the sky. Like a broken mirror space, the sword domain shattered. Chun Fenglie's chest felt heavy, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Ugh! After the energy pillar broke the sword domain, it blasted into the ground. A huge crater was formed on the ground. The ground shook and dust flew. Many people in the distance couldn't stand still and fell to the ground. Lin Zhan's house also shook under the violent impact. Fortunately, the quality of the house was good. It didn't collapse after a few shakes. What's that? Is it an earthquake? It's not an earthquake. It looks like a meteor. Didn't you see that the ground was penetrated? Meteor? There can't be such a coincidence. It just happened to repel Mr. Chen's attack. Moreover, that was clearly a light pillar. Someone must be secretly helping Yin Huang. Yin Huang also felt that someone was helping him. Chun Fenglie's sword domain was shattered, and the star power instantly surged over, restoring his star crown's power. With the replenishment of the star power, his powerful feeling returned. He first cupped his fists toward the distant space. I wonder who helped me. Yin Huang Lucifer, thank you in advance. Then, he turned to look at the injured Chun Fenglai. Ha ha! Chun Fenglai, man proposes but God disposes. You thought that you could defeat me, but you didn't expect this. Now that you're injured and my immortal body is back, do you still have the confidence to defeat me? Chun Fenglie's eyes widened. The terminating light in his hand shook twice. This weapon has followed me and killed many people. However, it has never tasted the blood of an expert on the heavenly star list. Chun Fenglai, today, you shall use your blood as a sacrifice to this weapon. Slash. Yin Huang suddenly jumped in front of Chun Fenglai and slashed down with the terminating light. Chun Fenglie's gaze turned cold. Flowing rainbow in his hand exploded with a ball of 7-colored radiance and collided with Yin Huang. Their bodies intersected, and 2 more wounds appeared on Chun Fenglie's body. On the other hand, Yin Huang was once again slashed into 2 by Chun Fenglai. However, a huge amount of star power descended from the sky, and his body quickly returned to its original state. With the confidence of his immortal body, Yin Huang once again pounced forward like a ferocious tiger. In the end, he was killed by Chun Fenglai again. However, he could still recover. Instead, he paid the price of his life to add another wound to Chun Fenglia's body. Chun Fenglai waved his flowing rainbow. This time, he wanted to slice Yin Huang's head. However, the star crown still had a strong defense. The holy light star power on it actually protected Yin Huang's head from fatal damage. With such protection, Yin Huang was even more fearless. This kind of suicidal attack made Chun Fenglai extremely uncomfortable. Chapter 363. This was a heart-wrenching battle. Yin Huang relied on his powerful recovery ability to hold back China's #1 expert, Chun Fenglai. If Chun Fenglai failed, then no one would be able to save Lin Jun's family. The Heavenly Star List's interference in mortal affairs was not unlimited. Since Chun Fenglai represented China's Heavenly Star List, no one else could interfere. Otherwise, it would cause a backlash from other countries' Heavenly Star List. Oh, you're already on the Heavenly Star List, yet you can't deal with Yin Huang. You can't blame others for your lack of skills. Especially in this battle, it wasn't because Chun Fenglai wasn't skilled. It was because he had the sword domain that he came to deal with Yin Huang. However, who would have thought that a cannon would come from outer space and disrupt Chun Fenglia's plan? People looked at the battle scene in horror. If this continued, things would be bad. In the sky, on the edge of the moon, Xio and Doodle looked at the battle scene and smiled at each other. They liked the feeling of controlling everything. Helping the weak defeat the strong was such a sense of accomplishment. As long as Yin Huang defeated Chun Fenglai, when they arrived on Earth, Yin Huang would definitely work for them wholeheartedly. At that time, they might be able to become the masters of Earth and control everything remotely. When the Empire's expeditionary army arrived, they would hand over a civilized planet. This would be a great contribution. They might even have a chance to become nobles. Xio was excited and wanted to say something to Yin Huang, but a huge meteorite suddenly flew over from afar. The first thing that sounded was the spaceship's alarm. Attention, attention! An unknown celestial body is rapidly approaching. Beginning scan. What's going on? Doodle hurriedly looked at Xio. Xio glanced at the workbench. The radar showed that a huge celestial body was approaching. It seems like a meteorite. Damn it. Why would we encounter such a thing? Pay attention to avoid it and change course. The radar continued to alert. Attention, attention, celestial body scan completed. Unknown meteorite, irregular shape, diameter 75 kilometers, density, mass 7 stage, detected as an asteroid fragment. Xio hurriedly drove the spaceship to avoid it. He directly avoided it by 100 kilometers to avoid being touched. Once it collided with the celestial body, their small spaceship would definitely die without a burial place. Check if there's any life form? Doodle said, I don't think there's a need for that. What kind of life form could exist in a celestial body that roams the universe? Also, it's indicated that it's an asteroid fragment. Could it be that there are people who have settled down on an asteroid fragment? Don't say so much. It's better to be safe than sorry. It's better to be safe than sorry. All right. You're the captain. I'll listen to you. Even if someone has settled down here, they're about to enter Earth's atmosphere. Don't they know how to hide? Xio muttered, but he still followed Graffiti's request and let the radar continue to scan for life forms. Attention, attention! Active life forms have been detected on the asteroid fragments. The test results indicate that they are Earthlings. Their vital signs are strong. Originally, Graffiti didn't have much hope. Out of his instincts as an adventurer, he examined the flying meteorite. He didn't expect to find life. It can't be. There are Earthlings on this asteroid. Yeah, what does this guy do? Why are you living on a meteorite? Graffiti and Xio stared blankly as the huge meteorite entered the atmosphere and began to burn. That person wouldn't still be on it, right? But the two of them could only watch. At this time, they couldn't get close to the meteorite. Not to mention whether the meteorite would be in danger of shattering. The high temperature on it was also unapproachable. Under their watchful eyes, the meteorite that had just entered the atmosphere suddenly split open. A corner of the huge meteorite fell off, and it was split in half in the air. This is... Xio Do you feel that the corner seems to have been cut off by someone? It seems that the cross-section is relatively smooth. Indeed, I have this feeling. It seems to be man-made. Then we have to be careful. If it's man-made, then this person must be a super expert on Earth. It's very likely that he's an expert on their heavenly star list. Xino nodded, but he didn't care too much. So what if he's an expert on the heavenly star list? As long as it doesn't affect our plan, it's fine. We came here to conquer them. Even if there are a few experts on this indigenous civilization's planet, they won't be good enough. I hope so. It's fine as long as it doesn't affect Yin Huang and Chun Fenglia's battle. Doodle looked at the meteorite that was flying towards Earth. He felt uneasy because the meteorite's direction seemed to be heading toward Huaxia. Lin Jun sat cross-legged on the meteorite. He had just absorbed a large piece of meteorite fragment, and the dark star ring in his body was almost complete. It's almost done. After 2 days of hard work, my dark star ring has finally taken shape. If this dark star can leave the space in my body and be placed in the sky, it will be a very lively asteroid. Lin Jun looked at the dark star in his body. Now, not only was the dark star ring complete, but the dark star itself was about to be successfully promoted. The planet in the ancient netherworld had basically completed its transformation. The magma planet was already in a state of solidification, and the Earth's crust was about to be formed. Great! I'm about to enter the ancient netherworld stage. I just need to absorb a large piece of fragment, and the dark star space will be stable. I will also have the star power of the meteor stage. After entering the atmosphere, the meteorite fragment had already begun to burn due to the friction between it and the atmosphere. I can't wait any longer. I'll use the last space slice. This will be the moment I break through. Lin Jun once again flew in front of the meteorite. The lightning light wings had already reached 5 times the speed of sound. Very quickly, he pulled some distance away from the meteorite. With a thought, space slice appeared. 100-meter-long spatial crack directly appeared in the center of the meteorite. After this space slice, the meteorite, which had already shrunk in size, actually split open. Countless meteorite fragments were torn apart. When Lin Jun saw this situation, he resolutely sent out more spatial cracks, sucking in all the meteorite fragments that could enter the dark star space. After a large amount of meteorite fragments entered, Lin Jun's dark star space finally underwent some changes. The magma ball finally stopped flowing completely. The planet, which was originally almost liquid, finally became solid. The Earth's crust was changing, and the continental shelf was beginning to appear. The uneven places were the future mountains and oceans. Rays of light began to condense in the air. Another blazing meteorite entered the dark star space. But at this time, the dark star ring was already complete. This meteorite hovered in the air, gradually turning into a fireball. When Lin Jun saw this, he immediately poured the firepower and light energy of the dark star space into the ball of light. Asterisk rumble. Asterisk, a fireball similar to the sun appeared above the dark star space. Light and heat began to radiate from it. Of course, the material structure of this ball of light wasn't as complete as the dark star space. This was only a celestial body that was attached to the dark star space. It was only responsible for transmitting light to the dark star space. Water elements filled the air above the dark star space. Small puddles of water began to appear in places that no one would notice. Although these puddles were still affected by the heat of the magma, bubbling like hot springs, and their temperature was so high that life couldn't survive, once the planet completely cooled down, these puddles would turn into oceans. Wind elements began to appear in the air. As the magma and puddles changed, the bubbles began to form an atmosphere. The embryonic form of an atmosphere had already appeared. Immemorial universe. This is the immemorial universe. It is equivalent to the meteor stage in the cultivation system. I finally have the strength of a meteor stage expert. Lin Jun could feel a strong surge of stellar energy seeping out from the dark star. His strength was also increasing rapidly. At this time, Lin Jun knew that only one's cultivation realm was the source of all strength. Whether it was his unstoppable or immovable mountain, without a powerful star force backing him up, It was impossible for him to display such great strength. The strength of the immemorial universe and the strength of the immemorial universe were simply incomparable. At this moment, Lin Jun felt that his strength had at least doubled. This wasn't the strength of his body, but the foundation of a martial artist, Star Force. If I had such strength earlier, why would I need to painstakingly apprentice myself to a master? With just this strength, I would be able to defeat Yin Huang and the others. I really wonder how much my strength will increase once the main star in my Dantian condenses a star core. Bathed in the starlight, Lin Jun's state was unprecedentedly good. After reincarnating, in just 4 years, he had reached a height that he couldn't reach in his previous life. All of this made him incomparably happy. However, he kept feeling that the dark star space was still lacking something. With a thought, he suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Shwa, 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 shwa. Continuously using spatial slash, the smaller meteorite was gradually cut apart, turning into fragments that entered the dark star space. The largest piece of meteorite hovered on the other side of the dark star space. Under Lin Jun's control, it turned into the shape of a moon, reflecting the light of the sun, forming day and night in the dark star space. As for the countless smaller meteorites, they turned into stars that filled the sky, scattered all over the dark star space. After doing all this, the dark star space finally stabilized. Between heaven and earth, a vast purple chi began to appear. The purple chi connected heaven and earth, condensing into a substance. Lin Jun didn't know what this purple chi was, but he felt that it was incomparably important. Collect. Lin Jun was the master of the dark star space. With a thought, the purple chi turned into a ball and flew directly into Lin Jun's Dantian space. Lin Jun originally wanted to collect this ball of purple chi. However, at this moment, no matter how hard he tried, he could only collect an insignificant portion of the purple chi. He couldn't control the rest at all. It should be because he didn't have enough strength. When this purple chi appeared in Lin Jun's hand, Lin Jun felt a golden chi in his hand, and a baleful aura filled the air. It was as if this purple chi didn't turn into something, he couldn't control it. Spear. I need a spear. With ardent light destroyed, Lin Jun indeed needed a weapon. Chapter 364. As soon as Lin Jun held the spear in his hand, he felt as if he was breathing the same breath, sharing the same fate, and being connected by blood. This spear was born in my world. It was formed by the purple aura. Other people can't use it at all. I can feel that it is extremely heavy, but it is as light as a feather in my hand. If I have to define a quality for this spear, it would be above the sacred weapon, and above the sacred weapon would be the divine weapon. However, it does not belong to the divine weapon category. Lin Jun injected astral power into the spear. The spear trembled slightly, and traces of sharpness overflowed from the body of the spear. The stronger I am, the stronger this spear will be. As for how strong it will be, I will only know in the future. The spear's transformation had only consumed 1/1000th of the purple aura. The remaining purple aura was suspended in Lin Jun's Dantian, motionless. He had to wait until he was stronger before he could use more purple aura. As for what this purple aura was, Lin Jun had no clue. He had never heard of it before. I have to give this spear a name. Lin Jun looked at the dark star space. There were suns, moons, and stars in the sky. The sun was yang, and the moon was yin. Let's call it yin-yang. The yin-yang spear did not even need to be stored in the interspatial ring. Lin Jun's mind moved, and the spear entered his Dantian. My dark star has entered the immemorial universe, which means that this world is stable. The star power of the immemorial universe is equivalent to the early stage of the meteor realm. However, with the support of the dark star ring, my star power has increased by about 30%. Now, I have the star power of the middle stage of the meteor realm. Of course, from the outside, I'm still in the quasi-star state. After all, my Dantian Chi has not evolved to the star state. It seems that I have to find time to cultivate my Dantian Chi. The quasi-star state still does not give people the impression that I am strong enough to convince them. Lin Jun thought to himself. He had already passed through the atmospheric turbulence and arrived below the clouds. These meteorites were falling in the direction of Huaxia. Lin Jun tried his best to control the direction and head in the direction of Ice City. He was a little worried. Yin Huang had returned to Earth before him, and it was very likely that Yin Huang would cause trouble for his family. He had to rush over and take a look immediately. As his body descended, Lin Jun turned his head to look at the sky. When he passed by the moon earlier, he seemed to have felt something spying on him. However, at that time, he was at the crucial moment of his promotion to Dark Star, so he did not have the time to investigate. No matter who you are, you better not have any bad ideas. As he flew down, Bingcheng Bay City appeared in his field of vision. He went straight to Jiangbei District. Gradually, Lin Jun saw his own villa. Someone is fighting. Lin Jun saw 3 people fighting fiercely in front of his house. Moreover, the momentum was great. There was no doubt that they were all experts. 3 people, 2 people besieging 1 person. That person is Yin Huang. He really went to our house. Lin Jun saw Yin Huang's body of light. Because Yin Huang had comprehended the light atom, he always radiated light when he fought. At this moment, he and another foreigner were attacking a man in green. Lin Jun was very familiar with the man in green. He was the founder of the Zephyr Dojo, Chun Fenlai. Chun Fenlai was currently guarding his house. Yin Huang and another person were undoubtedly going to invade his house. While Lin Jun was feeling grateful to Chun Fenlai, his heart was filled with anger. He increased his lightning wings to the maximum, creating a sharp whistling sound in the air as he charged toward the ground. Ivanov was an expert ranked 18th on the Heavenly Star list. He was originally 17th, but after being challenged by Chun Fenlai, he fell to 18th. Being last on the Heavenly Star list meant that one had to accept challenges from experts on the Dark Star list. Therefore, no one was willing to be last. He was originally ranked 17th, but he was challenged by Chun Fenlai. He had wanted to take revenge on Chun Fenlai for a long time and take back his 17th position. However, he was also afraid of Chun Fenlai's sword domain. At the beginning of today's matter, he was not optimistic about Yin Huang. This person was not a match for Chun Fenlai. Sure enough, even if Yin Huang had an immortal body, he would still be defeated by Chun Fenlai. However, there was a sudden change in the situation. An energy beam flew from the sky and actually scattered Chun Fenlai's sword domain. Yin Huang suddenly had a chance to turn the situation around. Ivanov immediately had an idea. It was obvious that there was a very powerful person secretly helping Yin Huang. If he went out now, not only would he be able to get acquainted with a powerful person, he would also be able to defeat Chun Fenlai and take revenge. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Ivanov immediately acted. He was originally on an aircraft near Ice City. He immediately drove the aircraft to Ice City and arrived in front of Lin Jun's house. When Ivanov suddenly joined the battle, Chun Fenlai's heart tightened. Ivanov, you are a Heavenly Star list expert. How dare you take advantage of the situation? Haha, it's right to win. How can I take advantage of the situation? Yin Huang, do you need my help? Yin Huang originally wanted to say that he did not need help. However, even if he had an immortal body, defeating Chun Fenlai was definitely not an easy task. It was better to have someone to help him. Moreover, he looked up at Lin Jun's house and saw that Ning was accompanying Lin Jun's parents by the window. Seeing Ning's beautiful face, Yin Huang's heart was burning. Even if he could not get Su Mingyue, Ning was not bad. All right, Ivanov first. I, Yin Huang, will recognize you as a friend. Let's go together. The two immediately began to attack Chun Fenlai from both sides. The situation suddenly took a turn for the worse. Chun Fenlai could also win against Ivanov alone, but it would be more difficult. The difference in strength was not big. Now that Yin Huang, who was not afraid of death, was added, he suddenly found it difficult to resist. The 3 of them exchanged a few moves at lightning speed. When Chun Fenlai once again used the heart-piercing sword on Yin Huang, his back was also stabbed by Ivanov's sword. His thigh was also hit by Yin Huang's Grim Reaper's scythe. Yin Huang's body staggered backward. On the other side, the supposedly dead Yin Huang began to recover. Chun Fenlai, You can't run even if you want to now. The ranking that I lost, I will take it back now. Ivanov and Yin Huang once again stood side by side, preparing for a new round of attack. Chen Fenglai sighed. Today, it will be difficult to end well. Die for me. Yin Huang was the first to jump up. At this time, he hated Chen Fenglai to the extreme. If it was not for his immortal body, he would have been killed by Chen Fenglai 10 times. Now it was time for revenge. Just when Chen Fenglai was preparing to mobilize the last of his strength to resist, he saw a stream of light coming from behind Yin Huang at high speed. Yin Huang, scram! The stream of light went straight for Yin Huang. Yin Huang did not care about attacking Chen Fenglai. He waved his baleful light and slashed back fiercely. However, the speed of the incoming person was faster than him. Before the baleful light could reach him, the purple energy had already hit him. Yin Huang's face suffered a heavy blow. Pooh! The starry sky crown helped Yin Huang block the attack. However, he was still sent flying by the purple light. The powerful impact instantly destroyed his brain. Blood and brain matter were shaken into the air. His head also fell limply to the ground. He died on the spot. It was unknown if the starry sky crown would still help Yin Huang recover after his head died. At this time, Chen Fenglai and Ivanov finally saw who the incoming person was. Lin Jun. They often saw Lin Jun, but that was on the internet. Today, when they saw Lin Jun in person, they felt that he was clearly different from the person they saw on the internet. Lin Jun was dressed in black. He held a 4-meter-long purple spear in his hand. His black hair was slightly messy. His eyes were like stars. He simply stood there, but he was as steady as a mountain. He gave off an extremely powerful feeling. Moreover, they could clearly feel that Lin Jun's aura was not below theirs. However, his realm was only that of a quasi-star realm cultivator. The astral power that Lin Jun released just now could not be faked. However, even with their eyesight, they could not see where the problem was. This made them even more cautious. Chen Fenglai was just about to speak when Lin Jun cupped his fists. Senior Chen, Lin Jun is polite. Thank you for saving my family. Lin Jun will definitely repay you in the future. Do you think it's appropriate to call me senior? Chen Fenglai asked with a smile. Lin Jun also smiled. You are an expert on the heavenly star list. It's appropriate to call you senior. Chen Fenglai waved his hand slightly and then pointed at Ivanov. This person is also on the heavenly star list. He wants to take advantage of the situation to deal with me. Once he succeeds, not only will I die, but your family will also be in big trouble. Fortunately, you came back in time. Otherwise, he might have succeeded. Lin Jun, I'll give you a chance to enter the heavenly star list. Lin Jun's gaze fell on Ivanov. He knew that Chen Fenglai was not trying to sow discord. This was Ivanov's idea. When Ivanov saw Lin Jun looking over, his eyebrows twitched. Lin Jun, let's end today's matter here. Just pretend that I never came. I hope you won't interfere in the personal grudge between me and Chen Fenglai. After all, this is a matter between the heavenly star list. The heavenly star list. Lin Jun sneered. Go to hell and explain it to the ghosts. He raised his yin-yang spear and thrust it towards Ivanov's chest. Ivanov's face turned cold. He believed that he was an expert on the heavenly star list. Explaining to Lin Jun was already giving him face. He did not expect that Lin Jun would not know when to back down. He actually dared to make a move. Do you think the heavenly star list is made of paper? Young man, you are too arrogant. Ivanov decided to teach Lin Jun a lesson. Two long swords appeared in his hands. The one in his left hand blocked Lin Jun's spear. The one in his right hand was ready to counterattack. Seeing this scene, Lin Jun sneered and suddenly activated Unstoppable. The yin-yang spear combined with Unstoppable was enough to give this expert on the heavenly star list a huge surprise. Under Chen Fenglai's dumbfounded gaze, Lin Jun's long spear pierced through Ivanov's heart without any resistance. Ivanov's sword was completely useless as the purple long spear pierced through his heart. Metal chi strangulation. Ivanov's internal organs were shattered and he died on the spot. Chapter 365. Only when Lin Jun withdrew his spear did Chen Fenglai regain his senses. He could not help but give Lin Jun a thumbs up. Brother Lin, that spear of yours is really amazing. It looks simple, but in reality it is a great skill that conceals clumsiness. With supreme strength and incomparable sharpness as its foundation, it is too difficult to block. Thank you for the compliment, Brother Chun. Lin Jun was already on the Sky Star list. He didn't need to be polite with Chen Fenglai. Haha, that's right. But that person seems to be coming back to life. Brother Lin, do you have any ideas? Lin Jun turned around and looked at Yin Huang, who was slowly standing up. He frowned. This guy's immortal body is quite difficult to deal with. Isn't that so? I'm a little scared of him. Then let's just let him die completely. Lin Jun held the yin-yang spear and slowly walked toward Yin Huang. Yin Huang was still scared of being killed by Lin Jun's spear. He didn't expect that, even with the protection of the Star Crown, he still couldn't block Lin Jun's attack. Previously, Lin Jun had been chased by him in space until he had nowhere to run. But in just a week's time, he was no longer Lin Jun's opponent. Yin Huang, who was holding the light demon, couldn't help but back away. Impossible. I don't believe it. How did you suddenly become so strong? It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. Yin Huang, now you will pay the price for what you did. In your dreams, Yin Huang's voice sank. Lin Jun, so what if you are strong? I have an immortal body now. Even if you kill me, I will still come back to life. Unless you keep trying to kill me. How long can you last? 1,000 years? 10,000 years? You will slack off one day. If you give me a chance, I will crazily take my revenge. Are you forcing me to kill you? Lin Jun smiled coldly. Lin Jun, I'm just telling you the consequences. Otherwise, when I get my revenge, your family, your friends, and your women, I won't let a single one of them off. So, you better think carefully before you act. I've already thought it through. Since you dare to threaten me like this, I can't let you live. I must kill you today. Good. I originally thought that if you kneeled down and begged me for mercy, I would spare your dog life. Now it seems that there's no need for that. Lin Jun, go to hell. Yin Huang howled, and the baleful light fiercely chopped down at Lin Jun. Lin Jun had to admit that Yin Huang's baleful light was indeed a treasure. It was many times stronger than his liquid metal. Even though he had yin-yang in his hands, Lin Jun still liked this thing. Yin Huang's slash was indeed powerful, but it was nothing to the current Lin Jun. The long spear in his hand quickly pierced forward. He didn't even need to use unstoppable. With just the power of the yin-yang long spear, Lin Jun once again stabbed Yin Huang to death. Ugh! Yin Huang clutched his chest and slowly fell. Lin Jun raised his hand and wanted to use gravity to pull the baleful light over. However, it actually emitted a strong light to resist Lin Jun's gravity. Lin Jun didn't believe it. Just as he was about to increase the gravity, Yin Huang actually came back to life. Lin Jun, don't waste your energy. My baleful light and starry sky crown can only be owned by people who have mastered the light atom. You haven't mastered the light atom power, so these things will never belong to you. Is that so? Then let's try again. Lin Jun's body flashed, and once again rushed in front of Yin Huang. His long spear struck repeatedly, and a few times he broke Yin Huang's limbs. The light atom core resonated with the starry sky crown and frantically repaired Yin Huang's limbs. Lin Jun raised his hand, and 4 rays of light rose into the sky. Light, thunder, ice, and fire. For 7 star blades appeared in the sky. After spinning, Lin Jun drove them with his mental power and pierced them towards Yin Huang. I'll let you have an immortal body. Let's see how I'll deal with you today. Puff, 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 puff. 4 7-star blades fell from the sky and ruthlessly pierced Yin Huang's wrists and ankles, nailing him to the ground. Lin Jun, how dare you treat me like this? Yin Huang was in so much pain that he wanted to die. His body could recover at any time, but the 7-star blades nailed him to the ground. He still had to bear the pain. Chen Fenglai was stunned when he saw Lin Jun's methods. He couldn't help but give Lin Jun a thumbs up. Brother Lin, brilliant. Why didn't I think of such methods? Hee hee. That's because Brother Chen's heart is kind. To deal with this bastard, you have to be ruthless. Lin Jun's yin-yang spear streaked across Yin Huang's throat. The starry sky crown's holy light couldn't block the power of the yin-yang spear. Yin Huang's head was cut off. Let's see if you can still cause trouble with only a head left. Lin Jun originally wanted to pierce Yin Huang's head with his spear, but the top of his head was protected by the starry sky crown. If he forcefully attacked, he was afraid that he would break the starry sky crown. Lin Jun really didn't want to waste such a thing. Yin Huang's head fell, and a huge amount of star power immediately pulled his body and head together again. Yin Huang quickly opened his eyes again. He was actually struggling, trying to free his hands and feet from the shackles of the 7-star blades. Even if he had to cut his tendons, he wouldn't hesitate. How troublesome. I don't believe it. Lin Jun was furious. With a thought, a bright flame burned on the 7-star blazing blade and began to devour Yin Huang's body. If I can't kill you, I'll turn you into ashes. Let's see if you can still live. The raging flames began to devour Yin Huang's body and gradually engulfed him. Above the sky, Tuya and Xin were watching this scene and couldn't help but frown. This isn't good. If this continues, I'm worried that Yin Huang will be killed sooner or later. Lin Jun has too many tricks up his sleeves. Hearing Xino's words, Tuya also said worriedly, that's right. Yin Huang can't die. If he is killed by Lin Jun, I'm afraid there's no more suitable candidate in this world. Then what should we do? Should we just kill our way down to save him? Absolutely not. After all, we are outsiders. If we rush out rashly, it will definitely cause the experts on Earth to unite against a common enemy. Although the two of us are strong, we can't fight against them. We can't take the risk. Then what else can we do to save Yin Huang? Yin Huang has already comprehended the power of light atoms. As long as there is enough light energy, his body will not be completely destroyed. Let's give him a little more effort. Not only will his immortal body become more powerful, but it will also give him the power to fight back. Fire a light elemental energy beam? That's right. Prepare to fill it with light stones and fire it with energy cannons. This thing is a great supplement for Yin Huang. It will definitely make him lively and even counterattack. Okay, this thing is immune to people who have mastered light atoms. It is a destructive weapon for others. No one can stop it. However, in order to help him this time, we have put in a lot of effort. We don't have many light stones from Blue Moon Bay planet. Those are worldly possessions. They are nothing compared to our conquest plan. As long as we can conquer this planet, I won't even blink my eyes if you ask me for all my wealth. Xin immediately began to fill the energy cannons. About 30 seconds later, a pure white light beam blasted towards the ground. Lin Jun urged the flames. The high temperature of 3,000 degrees had already melted most of Yin Huang's body. Yin Huang's holy light recovery speed was finally unable to resist the invasion of Lin Jun's flames. Yin Huang howled in pain. Lin Jun, I was wrong. Let me go. I will listen to you in the future. It's too late to realize your mistake now. Your sins do not deserve to be forgiven. Just as Lin Jun was about to increase his strength and completely turn Yin Huang into ashes, a white energy beam suddenly shot down from the sky and directly hit Yin Huang's body. When the light beam fell on his body, Yin Huang's strength suddenly skyrocketed. This is pure light energy. The person who helped me has made his move again. Ha ha ha. Great. This is really great. Lin Jun, let's see how you're going to kill me. The power of the light beam actually suppressed the power of the flames at this moment, allowing Yin Huang to regain his vitality. His hands and feet also moved violently, as if he was about to break free from the suppression of the 7-star blade. Damn, it's coming again. Who the hell is helping Yin Huang? Chen Fenglai was very annoyed. Lin Jun glanced at the sky. Who else could it be? This energy beam was undoubtedly shot by a spaceship. It should be another person from the Sky River Empire that has arrived on Earth. However, no matter what, Lin Jun has to get rid of Yin Huang. He urged his star power to continue burning fiercely. At the same time, he released 3 other 7-star blades, nailing Yin Huang's lower abdomen, chest, and neck to prevent him from breaking free. Another beam of light shot down from the sky. It seemed that the outsider was determined to support Yin Huang and Lin Jun against each other. Lin Jun didn't look back and continued to increase his strength to burn Yin Huang. However, Chun Fenglai suddenly shouted, "Brother Lin, be careful." Lin Jun turned his head fiercely, only to see a bright light in front of him. The light beam was actually aimed at him. "You want to kill me?" Lin Jun hurriedly tried to dodge. Being hit by this pure light beam, the result will definitely not be good. However, it was too late. Lin Jun instinctively raised his yin-yang shield. He believed that the spear bred by the new world should be able to offset most of the damage. However, at this moment, he saw a graceful figure suddenly appear in the sky, blocking the attack for Lin Jun with her body. "You, Lin Jun recognized at a glance that the person who appeared was Su Mingwei. He thought that Su Mingwei would be injured after blocking this attack, but unexpectedly, the light beam didn't cause any damage to her. Su Mingwei anxiously said to Lin Jun, "Lin Jun, my master said that if you want to kill Yin Huang, you must take off the star crown on his head with great power. I can block the holy light for you. Can you do it?" Seeing Su Mingwei like this, Lin Jun knew that she must have mastered the light atom and was no longer afraid of the holy light. "So that's how it is. I understand. Be careful." Lin Jun had an idea in his mind. In a single stride, he arrived in front of Yin Huang. With a spread of his hands, he firmly grasped the starry sky crown on his head. Bang!